Hey, welcome in, Danny. How you doing? Hello. Cat's being a little shithead. Okay, what? How it's being a little shithead? You know what I mean? It's a cat, but. I had a lovely little corgi join me on my way home yesterday, so. Bacon, egg, and cheese. Oh, that sounds good. Bacon, egg, and cheese sounds amazing. He's like, oh, plastic bottle. So is they just like just kind of just swatting it around all across the floor? Is that what's going on with it? Fat cat is back. Yeah, I got a little caught up in discussion before streams over some stuff that I have in the works, so like I'm running a little late today, but it's fine. Welcome on in, Wraith. Hope you all doing well today. I'm not that much of a fat cat. Come on now. Oh, the hit cats. It's in the back, so he's pawing at the back to get the bottle. Oh, okay. I get you. But did all you guys have a wonderful weekend? Yeah, cat may be a doofus, but we all love our pets even when they are being little derpy little bastards. You got to silver to an Apex. Nice. I've never played Apex, so I'm not too familiar with this ranked system, but hell yeah. Pretty good. Glad to hear. Y'all already know how my weekend was. So, you know, it's fine. Oh, for anybody who did miss my fun weekend, I got off work Saturday night, only to turn back around, head back to the site because of a like an ammonia alarm and stuff that went off to go help the other guard deal with it. At least until the other guys got there to handle it. And now he's nuzzling into your lap. I mean, cute kitty? I mean, we all love our cats. Let's see. Anything else? We go as Phil being a lazy dog. Yeah. Lazy weekends are good. Outside that, my weekend's been pretty quiet, to say the least. It was. It's funny, but at the same time, it kind of just annoys me because it's like, whenever I plan on doing anything, seemingly, whenever I want to do anything after work, it's just like, this. this thing happens or this thing happens, and it's like, can you not? Although the Cards Against Humanity that was after though was hella fun, not gonna lie. Really looking forward to when we can do that again. So which has me wondering if, because initially I was only...
Surprise, motherfucker!
Look at my name, Kane. Because initially I was only planning on doing like community game nights like every couple weeks, but you know, I thought about it, and if y'all want, we can arrange them to be every week if y'all want. It's up to you guys, because I don't mind either way. I just enjoy having a grand time with all y'all. Isn't it like late for you, Game? Yeah, I'm not good with time zones. You're already in bed. Okay, fair point. Fair point. So, there really isn't too much I really want to go over before we get to the videos today. Plus 6 hours, so... Okay, I gotcha. So probably, I will say, tomorrow's stream will be delayed because I unfortunately am stuck working tomorrow morning. Again. So, stream will be late tomorrow, but with that said, I am off Wednesday, which, so, Wednesday will be a longer stream. It'll start closer to when I actually wake up in the morning. We're probably gonna play some games, I don't know what. And then, because we recently hit 4,500 subscribers over on YouTube, we will be having a habitual line crosser marathon. Alright, buddy, and welcome in. I hope you have a good night. Appreciate you walking in. So, Tuesday, still gonna be some Halo stuff, but I don't know when the stream itself will actually start. More or less. Outside that, it's probably just gonna be regular scheduled mayhem. Regular uploads on Friday. You know, just regular bullshit. And maybe a couple other surprises I have in the works, but those won't be ready until I don't know when. Too many hands. Too many hands in the works for me to say anything really specific on when some of that stuff will be done. Hey, welcome on in, AJ. How you doing? Let's see, is there anything else I need to cover for today? Or is that all of it? Early off, hold a muscle. Ow. I hope you have a smooth recovery from that. Hey, welcome on in someone. We're doing good. Mostly discussing how our weekend and day's been right now. Alright, Ken, have a good night. Maybe we can play some Space Marine stuff at some point again. Let's see. Yeah, mostly got some history stuff for today. Yeah, we definitely need to get together and play more Space Marine at some point, because that shit was hella fun. Alright, so I think, what do we want to start with? Do we want to start with history, historic figures today? Do you want to do a quick food video? Oh, we can do a Planet Fitness video. Because fuck Planet Fitness. I've heard so many horror stories about fucking Planet Fitness and its memberships. I play a lot of variety of games, honestly. Currently it's been like, it's been a lot of Halo lately. A lot of Halo. Sometimes some Souls-like, sometimes some roguelites. It's kind of all over the place. I just like a really wide variety of games. Okay. Grab this video. Grab. Okay, I don't need this open right now, so I can close this. Alright. Alright, so I need y'all to pick a number 1 through 4. Yeah, so that'll decide which video we start with today. Three and a half. 3.5, 4. Okay. 2.9. Okay, smarty pants. Pick a number 1 through 4 that's a whole number and not a decimal. Two. Okay. 2. Alright. 2 already? That's workable. Alright. 1, okay. 2's winning. A door, 5.5. Minnow! That's a decimal. There is no 5. I mean, there technically is a 5, but we're not doing 5 yet. You just got here. Okay, you know what? Fair point. Half. You are butts. It's 1 through 4, Minnow. 1 through 4. No, it's 1 out of 2. There's no power vote for love rounding. Minnow voted for 3. This is true. He did. Which still means 2 leads. So how shall be a sheeple? Okay. Alright, so we will start today with 15 Marines versus 3,000. The unstoppable John Basilone? At least I think that's what the guy's name was. Why am I so tall? Which I don't really know who this guy is, which I know is going to be explained, so should be good. Should be fine. Alright.
I've been making YouTube videos for about 3 years now, and during that time I've gotten recommendations for hundreds of thousands of different topics to do videos on. Some of them I've done, some of them I haven't gotten around to yet, some of them I'll never do because they don't interest me, and then there's another category of topics that I've actively avoided because, to be honest with you, they intimidate me because the stories are that incredible and I'm worried that I'm not going to do them justice. This is one of those. Today we're talking about...
That's one heck of a disclaimer for him. Hey, you weren't supposed to do that. I hit the wrong button. Your number one hater has appeared. Yeah, you have indeed. Welcome on in. How you doing?
That I've actively avoided because, to be honest with you, they intimidate me because the stories are that incredible and I'm worried that I'm not going to do them justice. This is one of those. Today we're talking about one of the greatest Marines of all time, an undefeated boxer with a 100% knockout rate and probably the greatest machine gunner to ever live, John Basilone. He is easily one of the most recognizable and renowned warriors in American military history, and for good reason. He has received the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross, and the only reason he got the Navy Cross is because they quit letting people get the Medal of Honor twice. And we're going to get to his incredible story right after a word from our sponsor.
Oh, so you know a little bit about
Yeah, babe,
this
what's
guy,
up?
then?
Hey, I need a boombox.
Okay, I can go get you one.
Perfect.
All right, I'll go get it now. Love you.
Love you.
All right, bye.
1 hour later.
Where's that boombox that I asked for?
Oh, it's right here. I got it for you.
What is this?
The boombox.
No, I wanted something to play music with.
Oh, that kind of boombox. Yeah, I got this instead.
Okay, well, go to the store and get me a boombox so I can listen to music.
Can I keep this one still?
I don't care.
This video is brought to you by Delete Me, okay?
You
Super
seem
simple
to know
business
who that
model.
is.
You give them money, they turn around and they make sure that
Judging by
online
your
data brokers are
reaction.
not selling your personal information online. Okay, here's the deal. Pretty much anytime you use a
Honestly,
free
you have
service
some
on the
idea.
internet, you click that little box that says, I agree to the terms and conditions, you've basically just agreed to allow them to harvest as much of your personal information as humanly possible. They then turn around and sell that to online
Or
data
like any
brokers, and
idea.
that's how they can afford to offer you a free service. But when you have Delete Me, they go and they monitor all of these online data brokers for your personal information, and then if they find it, they submit all the opt-out forms on your behalf,
You
so
seem
they
to
have to
know a
take
decent-
down and stop
some
selling that
more
information.
than I
So when you buy
expect,
Delete Me, you're not
so-
actually buying anything. You're just buying your way out of all the negative consequences of all the free shit that you've already got.
That's a great
And because they
machine gunner,
continue
no
to
one
monitor
can
those data brokers, you're buying yourself out of all the
Okay.
future negative consequences of all the free shit that you haven't even gotten yet. So if you want to give Delete Me a try, there's going to be a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. John Basilone was born on November 4th, 1916 in Buffalo, New York, and spent his entire childhood
Buffalo?
growing up
Damn.
in Raritan, New Jersey. He was the sixth of 10 children with 2 older brothers, and both of his parents were first-generation immigrants that had just moved here from Italy. And like pretty much all World War II vets that we've ever talked about, he grew up in poverty during the Great Depression. Despite that, his father truly believed that America was the greatest place on earth. It was the land of opportunity, and he instilled that in all of his kids. Growing up with 2 older brothers in New Jersey, John got really tough really quick as a kid. He was extremely stubborn. He rode that line between bravery and stupidity with everything he did, and he was not particularly good at school. He could never pay attention in the classroom, but he excelled at anything athletic, and he never shied away from a fight. When he was 7 years old, he famously decided that he was going to make a 1,000-pound bull that had nearly killed 3 grown men previously his pet.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for
I respect it, but that sounds like a very terrible idea.
So 7-year-old John, with zero fear in his body, hops in this pen with this bull and goes to pet it. The bull charges him, he dodges it. The bull charges him again, he dodges it again. And finally the bull just kind of squares up with him, and John slowly walks up to this bull. And right as he's about to place his hand on the bull's head, right between his horns, the bull rears down and launches John 20 feet through the air, and he lands flat on his back. Luckily, John makes it out of the pen okay. Needless to say, that bull did not become his pet, but it goes to show that he is either gifted with an extreme amount of bravery or stupidity, and only time is going to tell which one it is. Now, around this same point in his childhood, John and his brothers end up going to the local movie theater, and they watch a movie about a boxer. And this movie inspires John and his 2 older brothers to all want to become boxers, but the problem is there's no boxing gym in Raritan. He can't afford any boxing equipment, so the 3 brothers just start trying to mimic the training from the movie. They all start jumping rope. The problem is they don't have jump ropes and they can't afford it, so they start jumping rope with a clothesline. They started chopping wood with an old rusty axe they found. They start doing focus mitt drills with their bare hands because they can't afford any equipment. And this goes on for the rest of his childhood. Academically, John struggles in the classroom, and at school, he's not very popular either. And it's not that he's dumb. He can do everything. He can read, he can write, he can do math. He just can't stand sitting there for 6 to 8 hours a day looking at a chalkboard and some teacher droning on. He would zone out, and then next thing he knows, the bell would ring and class would be over, and he didn't pay attention to any of it. Because of this, after he graduates from 8th grade, he informs his parents that he is not going to be attending high school, and he is going to go out and get a job and start contributing to the family. Because he's 14 at the time, there's not a whole lot of jobs that he can do, so he gets the first one he can get his hands on, and that is being a caddy at the local golf course. And at first, John absolutely loves it. He's outside, he's moving around, he's earning money to help his family. All these rich businessmen are giving him these huge tips because he does such a great job. And when he's not hauling golf clubs, he's hanging out at the golf course clubhouse with all these rich businessmen, and they end up teaching him how to gamble, and he gets really good at that, and he starts making money doing that too. And this goes on for years, and as John turns 16 and then eventually 17, it's getting to the point where he can go out and get a real job. And John absolutely hates the notion of it. He resents the fact that society is telling him he has to go out and get some monotonous 9-to-5 job that he just has to do every single day for the rest of his life. In his mind, it's going to be just like sitting in that classroom, zoned out, and John doesn't know what to do because that's not what he wants in life. Not knowing what to do, John goes to his church and he's praying about it. He's just sitting there, he's hanging out, he's thinking about what he wants to do for the rest of his life. While he's there, a Catholic priest by the name of Father Russo comes up and starts talking to John. You know, he's clearly troubled, wants to know if he can help, and John ends up asking Father Russo, that he's known pretty much his entire childhood, like, hey, Father, you know, you were an athletic guy, you were in college, you could have been a doctor, you could have been a professional athlete, you had the whole world at your fingertips. How did you decide that you wanted to become a priest? And Father Russo told him that he just felt a calling, that that's what he was supposed to do, so he did it, and he told John that if he listened, God would probably give him a calling too. So John takes that advice and he's trying to listen or look out for any sign that maybe God's going to give him. And then one day he has what he describes as a vision that he's supposed to become a warrior. And because of this, John joins the United States Army in 1934. Now the problem is John doesn't really know what he wants to do in the Army, but he knows that his calling is to be a warrior. So he wants to be the biggest, baddest, most untouchable warrior on the battlefield, which is obviously being inside of a tank.
Best job I ever had.
The problem is that John thinks that being cooped up inside of a tank is going to be just like sitting inside that classroom, and he absolutely hates the notion. He wants to be outside, moving around, doing things that are...
Why wouldn't you want to be in a tank? That shit would be fun. Doesn't have to do so much damage. Yes.
Physical, so he picks the next best thing on the battlefield, a machine gun. And this suits John for multiple reasons. One, he's kind of a bigger guy by the standards of the day, right? He's 5'9", but he's 185 pounds with almost no fat on. And on top of that, he's been doing nothing but lugging around golf clubs for the past 4 years, giving him a ton of stamina, which is good news because he's gonna need it, because the machine gun back in 1934 was the Browning 1917, which was a fucking machine gun that required 7 quarts of water to cool the barrel down. Between the gun and the tripod, the entire thing is 103 pounds, not including the ammunition. And John is absolutely obsessed with this gun. He knows absolutely everything about it. He knows where to place it on a battlefield, how to set it up, how to clear every different type of malfunction. They have competitions on how to disassemble and reassemble it and run a functions check completely blindfolded, and John wins those competitions every single time. After finishing his training, John gets shipped out to the Philippines, and he spends the next 3 years there between 1934 and 1937, and it kind of fucking sucks the entire time. Now, at this point in time, the geopolitical climate is absolutely heating up, and war could break out, and if that war breaks out, John is obviously here to defend the Philippines. And as far as John can tell, if war should break out, the Army's only plan is to have all of its troops retreat to a tiny island called Corregidor and try to hold that. Now,
World War II tanks are in the nickname. U.S. tanks are in the nickname Tommy Cookers among the Germans and Zippo among the Americans. Oh, okay. Bring around a Sherman tank from World War II. There's not a lot of room in there. I mean, I don't really have a good scale for the inside of a tank because I've never really, because I've really seen pictures in some videos. So the actual like interior is kind of more of a mystery to me. Cramped. Okay. Our tanks are failed and the shit's better. We're important consideration when you're landing on a beach. This is also true. That's also true. You had to go there with the short joke.
This is extremely disheartening to the point that it pisses John off because remember, he's here to be a warrior. That's his higher calling in life. And now he's over here in the Philippines. It's hot. Everything's fucking wet all the time. There's fucking bugs everywhere. He's getting malaria. Everybody else is getting malaria. And he's sitting here just suffering, basically waiting for war to break out. And then when the war does break out, the first thing they're going to do is retreat. That's not what he signed up for. So this bothers John all the way down to his core the entire time that he's there. Despite that, he tries to make the best of it, which is really hard at times because it's very clear to John that the army either doesn't give a fuck about him or just doesn't have the funding to take care of him the right way because they have basically nothing while they're there. They're living in these tiny little huts. They have very little supplies. They're literally having to eat goat half the time, which John said was absolutely disgusting. And on top of that, John absolutely hates the rainy season in the tropics because he cannot stand the wool army socks when they get wet on his feet. It drives him absolutely insane. It bothers him so much that it becomes a well-known thing in his unit that when you're gambling against John Basilone, he is willing to accept dry cotton socks as currency to gamble with when you play against him, which is pretty much all he does the entire time that he's there. He's either sleeping, drinking, gambling, or trying to bang the locals like everybody else. He actually ends up falling in love with a local woman by the name of Lolita that he describes as the most beautiful woman in the world. So much so that he actually gets her name tattooed on him. The constant drinking and gambling gets old after a little while, so he decides that he's going to start training to box again. So he gets back to running, jumping rope, starts sparring with any other army guy that's willing to spar with him, and then eventually he ends up taking his first fight in the army for boxing. Takes his first match, goes in there, knocks the guy out in the first round, takes another match, knocks him out too. After a little while, he is the best boxer in his unit, and then he goes and competes, becomes the best boxer in the army, and then he goes, competes again, knocking out the Navy's champion, becoming the best boxer in the U.S. military. Around this point in time, he ends up getting the nickname Manila John, and all the promoters back home hear about this badass over in the Philippines knocking everybody out, so he's getting letters from all these boxing promoters wanting him to come over and fight their pro champion over here, this pro guy over there. Basically, he's got a really good professional boxing career lined up the minute he goes back home. Eventually, he ends up beating everybody in the United States military, 19 wins, 19 knockouts, at which point he can either just wait and go back home and turn pro, or he can go up a weight class. He doesn't really want to do either, and his enlistment is coming to an end. John decides that he does not want to go up a weight class. He definitely does not want to re-enlist in the army because these past 3 years have fucking sucked. And he doesn't want to go back home and become a pro boxer because he doesn't think that that's the warrior calling that he had from his vision. So John finishes up his enlistment in 1937 and goes back home and moves in with mom and dad all over again, and he is right back at square one, not knowing what to do with the rest of his life. He goes right back to being a caddy at the golf course, and at this point, mom and dad are getting worried because, I mean, he's a 21-year-old man, and this is the 1930s. He should be having kids by now, and he's over here working some part-time high schooler job. He needs to go and get a real job and make something of himself and start building a family. And while nobody's saying it out loud, John feels that constant pressure both from his family and his community, and he just doesn't know what to do. So he basically just goes back to what he was doing in the Philippines, right? He's carrying golf clubs during the day, he's gambling, he's drinking, and he is fucking everything that moves. You gotta realize, he's the 21-year-old army veteran that just got back from the military. He's 185 pounds, built like a brick shithouse with 19 knockouts. He's seen as a very eligible bachelor by all the young ladies in town. So he's doing stuff with them. He's even banging the old widow that runs the flower shop down the street. I'm not kidding. So that's going on for a while. Then eventually his dad confronts him like, Johnny, what the fuck are you doing with your life? You need to get your shit together. So John is like, I know, I know. So he goes, he gets a real job. He ends up being a delivery guy for a laundry service. He does that for a couple of months. Fucking hates every single second of it. But now mom and dad are proud of him. You know, he's gone out in the world. He's got a real job. He's doing the whole, you know, family thing. Soon he'll probably get a wife, settle down, have kids, do what, you know, you're supposed to do. He doesn't make it there very long. He ends up quitting because he just can't stand to do it. His parents are super disappointed right out of the gate, at which point John is like, you know, I'm going to move out. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'll go out on my own. So he moves to a different state, gets a job with the gas company. So he does that for like 6 months. He becomes one of the top employees at the company. He's getting along fine. He does the work really well, but he absolutely hates it. He doesn't feel like he's fulfilling his higher calling. And around this point in time, all the news is coming out about the massacre at Nanjing, Japan invading China, killing hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. There's stories coming out about Japanese officers beheading innocent Chinese civilians until their arms are so fatigued that they can no longer lift up their swords. And this bothers John to his core because even though his time in the army wasn't great and he hated it the entire time, he still considered himself a professional and did not understand why another professional military would do that to innocent civilians. And with this, John has his second vision, basically a more clear version of his first vision. He is supposed to be a warrior, but he is supposed to fight the Japanese. And with this, he decides that he's going to re-enlist in the United States military, but this time he's not going with the army. He told his mother, and I quote, "The army's too soft, Ma. I'm going with the Marines."
Alrighty.
So in July of 1940, at the age of 23, John Basilone joins the United States Marine Corps. And you gotta realize, at this point in time, John is 23 years old and there's a draft going on, so pretty much everybody else that he's going through training with is some 18-year-old snot-nosed kid. And John is just... he's getting through it. So he crushes basic training, goes off to machine gunner school for the Marine Corps, and while he's there, he just starts hustling all of his classmates. He sits there and very loudly and very vocally expresses frustration in his inability to disassemble and reassemble the machine gun, which obviously he knows how to do extremely proficiently, but he plays it off like he can't. And then he suckers other young, cocky Marines in to a challenge of assembling and disassembling it and running a functions check, and whoever wins, wins money. And then as soon as they put money on the table, he just takes everybody shit, including their socks.
4 in a row. You know something? This is like the luck of the Irish, only I'm not Irish, so you figure it out.
So he gets done with training. He's older, he's more mature, he already knows everything. Very quickly, he ends up becoming a gunnery sergeant. He's in charge of 11 other men and 2 machine guns. And he takes being a leader very seriously. He makes all the men in his section train and retrain over and over and over again with the machine gun, how to set them up, where to set them up, absolutely everything, to the point that they are just as good as he is. Then they end up getting shipped out to Puerto Rico for amphibious landing training. He's back in the tropics, absolutely hates it. Everything's wet, his feet are wet, his socks are wet, there's fucking bugs everywhere. He doesn't like it there. He ends up training there for an entire year. And as per usual, when he's not training, they're going out, they're gambling, they're drinking, and they're fucking everything that moves. At this point in time, he becomes kind of infamous for every time he gets hammered, he turns his hat, also known as a piss cutter, sideways to let everybody know, hey, I'm fucking hammered. So after a year, they get done with training. They're just waiting on orders on where they're gonna go. Paris Island is apparently full. So according to the rumors, the US military has went out and built an entire new base for the Marines. And this base is fucking awesome. There's a new movie theater. There's an athletic facility. There's a new chow hall that serves steak and lobster and cake and ice cream every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everybody is fucking pumped because they've been hanging out in the tropics where it sucks, basically living in tents. And now they're finally gonna go and get appreciated for the elite fighting unit that they are. So they get shipped out, they travel, they make it all the way to New River, North Carolina, where the new base is, and they get there. There's nothing there. There's like a couple of buildings for the officers, and then it's just a fucking swamp. They have no mission, there's no training schedule. They're literally just existing, living in tents in a swamp.
Well,
because at this point in time, America isn't in the war yet. So basically, they're one of the most highly trained units that America has, but they have nowhere for them to go, so they basically just like set them off to the side and told them to go camp in a swamp for a while, and it sucks the entire time. So they're there for a couple of months, and then they get word that they're going to a different new base, and this base surely is the base they were originally talking about, right? With the chow hall and the steak and the lobster and the cake and the ice cream and the athletic facility and the new barracks. Everything's gonna be awesome. The new base is actually ready. They ship out. It's a very short drive. They come to this new place, Camp Lejeune. Also, no buildings, just a fucking swamp.
Wait, what the hell is Camp Lejeune? Because I've heard so many different things about Camp Lejeune. What the fuck is it?
Close.
Very.
So now morale amongst the men is at an all-time low. It absolutely sucks. John is trying to do everything he can to keep spirits up. He makes it standard practice that every...
Try me. Try me, Minnow. It's a military base. Okay, that part we've kind of already established. It houses 2nd Military Division and the 2nd MLG. That's an acronym I don't know. Right beside the MCAS New River. Okay. Oh, Marines Logistics Group. Makes sense.
Everybody under his command is going to learn boxing. He's going out, he's teaching his men how to box. The circus in town actually donates their old tent and they set it up, and that becomes their new like Madison Square Garden. He's hosting fights. Boxing is like the only thing they have. But John doesn't really have any interest in boxing himself, and after the word got out that he's Manila John with 19 knockouts, not a lot of people wanted to box him anyways, so it works out. But there has been several occasions where a card game went wrong and he got into a fight and knocked a couple of people out. And then they get a new commander that apparently is a badass, and one of the first things this commander does is calls John Basilone into his office. Okay, this cannot be good. John is nervous. This guy is allegedly a hard ass. He's supposedly one of the most decorated men in the U.S. military at this point in time. He's got 2 Navy crosses. He's already served in Nicaragua. He served in the Banana Wars, and now John has to go talk to him, and he doesn't know why. So John walks into his office, and this guy is intimidating. He is built like a brick shithouse. He looks like a refrigerator with a smaller refrigerator on top of it, and that's his head. This dude's got the biggest barrel chest he's ever seen. His side profile is 2 feet thick. It's starting to make sense why this guy's nickname was Chesty. Yeah, John's new commander is the legendary Marine Chesty Puller. And Chesty lays into him immediately. Like, I understand you knocked some people out after a card game. And he's like, yes, sir. And he goes, I understand you're some type of knockout artist. And he's like, yes, sir. I was 19-0 over in the Philippines when I was in the Army. Chesty at this point flips out. The Army? You were in the fucking Army?
You're getting soft, brother.
Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but this conversation went something along the lines of, why don't you explain to me why I would let somebody softened by the United States Army lead my Marines into combat? I have heard nothing but bad things about you, John. You are a gambling womanizer that would sleep with 2 women at a time if you could afford it. At which point, John responds, and I quote, even when I can't afford it, sir. At which point, Chesty cracks a smile and says, God damn it, you're going to make a fine Marine. Pull up a seat. They have a cigar together and start drinking. And then Chesty has John tell him all about the Philippines. Yeah, John Basilone is now homies with the most decorated Marine of all time. Shortly after this, Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. They've committed the cardinal sin. They've fucked with America's boats. It is now game on. At this point in time, John's unit is one of the most highly trained units in the United States military, and they are immediately shipped out to Samoa on their way to the Pacific for more training. They spend about 4 months there. They train a bunch on amphibious landings, but they also train on jungle warfare, trying to focus in on what they know the Japanese like to do. They know that the Japanese like night fighting, so they get a bunch of nighttime combat training, and then they know that the Japanese also like to infiltrate behind enemy lines and pretend to be one of your guys and then murder you in your sleep. So they develop a new system on how to make sure that somebody out in the darkness is actually one of your guys. Now, the tricky part is you need to make sure that both members in this communication are both on the same page and they both know that they're not going towards an enemy. So you're going to shout out one word and they're going to respond back with another word that's the password. And the words that they choose are weather and clear, because apparently you can't say those words with a Japanese accent.
Clear? 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 Clear, clear, clear.
So they get done training, then they're just told to board a ship. They're not even telling them where they're going. They get out to sea after like 2 days once it's no longer a security issue, and they tell everybody over the loudspeakers, we're headed to Guadalcanal in the Pacific. There's an airfield there that we have to take and defend. Now, John is going to kind of be in the second wave. He is not there when the Marines make their first landing on Guadalcanal on August 7th, 1942. Now, those Marines experience very little resistance at first, and then 2 days later on August 9th, the Japanese Navy rolls in on the naval detachment that had dropped off the Marines, and they attack them at night and catch them completely off guard, and they end up sinking 4 American cruisers, and the entire naval detachment is forced to retreat, stranding the Marines on Guadalcanal. So for about that first week, the Japanese Navy just shells the Marines with naval gunfire and then tries to starve them out. The first major battle is on August 20th at the Tenaru River when 800 Marines go toe-to-toe with 900 Japanese. killing 800 Japanese and only losing 44 Marines in return. After this, the Japanese realized two things. A, they're going to have to up their game if they want to go toe-to-toe with the Marines, and B, Henderson Airfield is apparently very important to the United States war effort, and they have to take it back no matter what. Henderson Airfield has a ridge right next to it today that's known as Edson's Ridge because it was defended on September 12th by Edson's Raiders. Edson's Raiders is comprised of 840 Marines that go toe-to-toe with 3,000 Japanese soldiers led into battle by Major General Kiyotake Kawaguchi. Utilizing the high ground and effective machine gun fire, Edson's Raiders absolutely crushed Kawaguchi's men. Over the course of 3 days, the Marines lost 31 men and killed over 600 Japanese soldiers and wounded at least 600 more. To the Japanese, this was considered the first major defeat of their ground forces in over 2,000 years and brought immeasurable shame to that chain of command. General Kawaguchi is immediately relieved of command, and his boss, General Hayotake, takes control, and it becomes his life's mission to win back Henderson Airfield to restore his honor. By August 18th, the United States Navy is able to punch through, and John and the rest of the 7th Marines show up to reinforce the Marines on Guadalcanal. Over the course of the coming days, they offload all of the 7th Marines onto Guadalcanal, but on September 23rd, before all of the Marines have disembarked from their ships, they get ambushed at the Medicao River. Chesty Puller, hearing that some of his men are cut off and surrounded, commandeers the United States naval destroyer, the USS Ballard, takes it under his command, gets it as close as he can to their position, and calls in the naval gunfire on the enemy himself. He then loads up all the landing vessels that he has with as many Marines as he possibly can and begins leading them into the fight to save his men. And Chesty is right there leading from the very first Higgins boat, and it gets so bad from enemy gunfire coming in on these Higgins boats that the naval coxswain, the pilot of the ship, goes and starts turning the boat around, and all the other boats are going to start following, at which point Chesty orders him to keep going, and he fights him on it, and Chesty pulls out his Colt 45 and says that he will shoot him himself if he doesn't steer that fucking boat to that beach. Chesty lands, goes out, saves his men, and to be clear, John wasn't there during the actual battle, but he saw all of this unfold, he heard about it, and it reinforced everything that he thought and knew in his heart, that if he wanted to be a good leader, he had to lead from the front and be willing to risk himself for his men. So all the Marines get out on Guadalcanal. The biggest objective in the war right now is defending Henderson Airfield. This is the most important stretch of land on the planet at this point in time. So John and his 11 men are set up on this ridge right outside Henderson Airfield. They have 2 foxholes, 1 machine gun team in each, and they are covering a 2,500 yard span of the Marine front line, and they absolutely cannot allow the Japanese to get past it. On October 23rd, General Hayotake, who remember feels that he has been shamed by allowing his subordinate to lose to the Americans for the first time in 2,000 years, he is willing to die to win this fight, and he sends all the men that he has directly towards the Marine Corps' front line, and hundreds of them are headed directly towards John Basilone and his 11 men. The Japanese soldiers headed towards John and his men were covered in leaves for camouflage, and there were so many of them that Basilone's men said it looked like the jungle itself was coming to eat them. And while that is horrifying, you have to remember that John and his men have 2 heavy machine guns with overlapping fields of fire and the high ground. It's going to take a literal army to uproot John and his men. John and his men start mowing down wave after wave of Japanese infantry, and they just keep coming because they are under the command of General Hayotake, and this man is willing to die to win his honor back, and he's willing to sacrifice all of his men as well. Not only are John and his men metaphorically stacking bodies, they're literally stacking bodies to the point that it actually becomes a legitimate problem. John has to get out of the foxhole and push over piles of dead corpses because they're beginning to obstruct the view from his machine.
Wait, yes, that was correct. They were laying all over guns. We had to change the guns because I had my mounts too low. And I had to change my position in order to fire at them. Well, that is... I mean, that makes sense, but I also can't... I also don't think moving those would be very, the most conventional thing. Sun glare. Intersecting fields of fire with machine guns are a peak. I'll have to take your word on that.
gun positions. They fight for hours, mowing down wave after wave of enemy, and by the end of the first day, John has lost 4 men and killed who knows how many Japanese in return. On the second day, they still weren't able to get past Barcelona and his men, but they were able to punch through the Marine Corps line on John's right flank, and they surrounded John and his men. Okay, so at this point, on one hand, this is a horrible situation to be in, but on the other hand, this is exactly the type of shit Marines are into, okay? This is what they call a target-rich environment, and now that they're surrounded, the enemy doesn't have anywhere else to go but to fight them. This is exactly what they want. The only problem now is that the rest of the force is cut off from him, so he can't get any more ammunition or water for the guns. And to make things worse, he's been fighting for so long, his fucking wool socks are wet. So at this point, John's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go get the ammo myself. He takes off his boots, he takes off his wet wool socks, grabs a machete and his Colt 45 1911, and takes off through enemy lines to go get more ammunition and water for his men. John not only makes it through the enemy lines barefoot, he actually gets more ammo, more barrels, and more water for the guns, and makes it back to his men. And over the course of the next day, he does this 2 more times. John and his men continuing to fight the entire time, mowing down scores of enemy soldiers. But slowly, John starts losing more and more men. First it was 4, and then 2 more, and then he's lost 8 men, and then suddenly it was down to John and just 2 others. At this point, they had to improvise new tactics. They didn't have enough men to man 2 heavy machine guns. So John became the gunner, trying to make every single last round count. And then when John ran out of...
Just because I don't know, how many is it supposed to be for a machine gun? Just because I don't know.
ammo on one gun, he would hop over to the other gun while his 2 men reloaded and refitted that initial gun, and they would just bounce back and forth fighting as long as they possibly could. This goes on for hours, and John and his men can't keep up. John would burn through all the ammunition in one machine gun before the next gun was ready, so John had to engage the enemy in hand-to-hand combat at their foxhole to buy his men more time to get the guns up. And then that goes on for hours. John Barcelona kills 38 enemy soldiers at or in his foxhole in close quarters combat, buying his men more time. And just as things are starting to look really, really dark, like this is gonna be the end, dark, we're almost out of ammunition, we can't keep doing this, Chesty Puller comes through again, rallies the Marines, pushes back the Japanese forces, and restores the initial line. Over the course of the entire battle, not just John's section alone, the Marine Corps had managed to kill 2,500 Japanese soldiers, forcing them into a retreat. General Hayotake again had been defeated, and this time the blame laid squarely on his shoulders, and because of this, he commits... Can't say that word on YouTube. Anyways, by the time reinforcements get to Barcelona and his men, there is dead dudes absolutely everywhere. There's 38 of them in or around the foxhole. All of those kills were credited to Barcelona in close quarters combat, and his fields of fire look like the most aerodynamic mass grave you've ever seen. There was so many they quit counting after 150. For the next 18 days, the Marines launched counterattacks, chasing the retreating Japanese forces all over Guadalcanal before eventually kicking them off the island altogether. But the fight's not over yet. The Japanese are going to come back, and they're going to come back with everything they absolutely have. Off the coast of Guadalcanal is a bunch of Japanese battleships, and they are there to secure a route for more Japanese soldiers to make it onto the beach through landing craft. But this time, the U.S. Navy is going to surprise them in the middle of the night. There's this crazy battleship commander by the name of Willis Lee, aka Ching Lee, a 5-time Olympic gold medalist sharpshooter and tactical genius that has just pioneered and perfected the method of using radar to find targets for naval gunfire, giving them an unprecedented advantage at night fighting. On the night of November 14th, he engages the Japanese battleship detachment with his ship, the USS Washington, sinking their flagship, the IJN Kirishima. This forces the rest of the Japanese naval detachment to retreat, squashing any hope of Japanese reinforcements hitting the beach, effectively securing the island and turning the entire tide of the war in the Pacific. By January 1st, 1943, John and the rest of the 7th Marines were sent to Melbourne, Australia to recover from months of intense combat. And once the Marines get there, it turns into one gigantic party, because now the people of Australia have been living under the worry that the Japanese were going to invade them next. And now they're tucking their tail and they're running from the Marine Corps and the United States Navy. The Marines are heroes to every single person in Australia. The Australians were so grateful to the Marines, it said that there wasn't a single bar or home in Australia that wasn't open to a United States Marine. And they couldn't pay for one of their own drinks even if they wanted to. For an entire month, John Barcelona is wearing his piss cutter sideways, absolutely hammered. And then one day he wakes up at like noon, probably still half drunk, feels like he's been hit by a truck, and his arm is just absolutely on fire. So he sits up out of bed, he looks over at his arm is just all bandaged up, and he has no idea why or what happened. And he's like worried that he like did something stupid, he jumped off a roof, broke his arm, something happened. He doesn't really know. Regardless of what happened or how hurt he is, he can't really do anything about it, and he's starving and he can do something about that, so he doesn't even bother to look at his arm or see what's underneath that bandage. He just staggers out of the barracks and goes to the chow hall. So he's in the chow hall getting food, and another Marine comes up to him and is like, yeah, death or dishonor, right? And John Basselon's like, what? He goes, your tattoo that you got last night. Everybody was watching and cheering. And he's like, and he looks underneath the bandage, and he's now got a gigantic tattoo on his arm that says death or dishonor. Now at this point, John is like partially relieved that he's not severely injured, but on the other hand, he's like, man, I got so hammered I got a tattoo and didn't even know it. Maybe I should tone it down just a little bit. Which works out because by this point in time, the party's kind of dying down. The Marines go into this like recovery type mode. They're kind of like out in the woods, living in barracks and tents, and they're just kind of hanging out until they get more orders. So that's fine, that's great, that's wonderful. The only annoying thing that's really going on at this point in time is in Australia, there's this fucking bird that's got the most obnoxious call on the planet, and it's called a kookaburra. John and the rest of the Marines absolutely hate these birds because of how obnoxious they are, to the point that they start opening fire on the birds whenever they hear them just to get them to shut the fuck up. At which point the chain of command is like, you guys need to stop. You can't keep shooting at these tiny birds with Browning machine guns, okay? Quit it. They didn't, they kept doing it, and then whenever the chain of command asked what they were doing, they would say they thought they saw a Japanese spy just to get these birds to be quiet. This goes on for months, just hanging out in the woods, recovering, shooting at these annoying birds, and then by May, John finds out that he is going to be awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on Guadalcanal. Initially, he is told that he's going to go back to the United States, and FDR himself is going to put the Medal of Honor around John's neck in front of his friends and family in his hometown, but John doesn't really feel like he deserves it, or he has feelings that there's other men that deserve it just as much as he does. He said, and I quote, I just happened to be there. Anyone would have done the same in my place. And because of this, he feels like that Medal of Honor doesn't just belong to him, it also belongs to his men. So he actually opted to have the Medal of Honor ceremony in Australia on May 21st with his men present. And at this point, the Marine Corps realizes they have a unique opportunity. They've got John Basselon, this young, good-looking, 185-pound brick shithouse of a Marine that's got 19 knockouts in boxing and the Medal of Honor around his neck. And they ship him back home, and he's going to be doing war bond tours to raise money for the war. For the next month, John gets paraded around the United States with the goal of raising $15 billion in war bonds, and in less than 30 days, he raises $19 billion. And John Basselon hates absolutely every second of it. He did not want to leave his men, and he definitely does not want to get paraded around the United States giving talks and speeches. It reminds him of being in school, having to go up in front of the class, and he absolutely hates school. He just grits his teeth and bears through it, trying to do the right thing. And then eventually, after he raises all this money and the war bond tour is over, he asks to get shipped back out to rejoin his men. He is immediately denied. He's far too valuable. They cannot have the news headlines reading that war hero, Medal of Honor recipient John Basselon dies in combat, so they make him a guard at a naval shipyard.
Oh,
this is the worst.
Well.
This goes on for months and months, just John stuck inside of a guard shack, similar to that classroom that he hated as a child. And it's just eating away at him. He starts to become an alcoholic. It's just the loneliest he's ever been in his entire life, and he hates every single second of it. And then in November of 1944, he hears word that his old unit under the command of Chesty Puller is almost wiped out at the Battle of Peleliu. And this is the last straw for John Basselon. He's not going to sit in this guard shack anymore while his men are out there fighting and dying without him. He storms into General Vandergrift's office, the same man that pinned the Medal of Honor on his chest in Australia, and tells him the newspapers are going to read one of two things. They're going to read that you had to court-martial war hero John Basselon, or they're going to read that John Basselon is returning to the Pacific. You can pick which one. And then he says, and I quote, how's it going to look if we retake Manila and Manila John isn't there? I'm staying with my boys. They need me. Within days, John is given orders to report to Camp Pendleton, where he is going to lead a machine gun platoon that's getting ready to ship out to the Pacific. But before that, he's given 3 days of leave to go back home to Raritan, New Jersey and get his affairs in order. And while he is there, he has his third and final vision, and it is alarmingly clear to him that he is going to die in combat. Despite that, it doesn't even really faze him because he knows it's his destiny. He tells his brother that he had this vision. His brother doesn't quite believe him. He gets his affairs in order and he heads off to Camp Pendleton. While there, he meets Lena, a female Marine cook, falls in love with her, and they get married almost immediately, and they have 1 month together at Camp Pendleton.
Good relations with the Wookiees I have.
After his month in Camp Pendleton with his new bride, he ships out to Hawaii, and he's got 4 months there to train his machine gun platoon to get ready for combat. While there, John does absolutely everything he can to get his men ready for combat. He shares everything he knows. He makes sure that they know that machine gun inside and out. When they do amphibious landings, if they're able to get that machine gun onto the beach up and running, he walks up and throws wet sand into the gun himself so that they get used to clearing malfunctions. After 4 months of training in Hawaii, they're told that they're shipping out and to board this ship, and they don't even tell them where they're going yet again. Same thing happens again. A couple days out at sea, they announce over the loudspeakers that they are going to be taking part in the invasion of Iwo Jima, which translates to Sulphur Island. This is going to be nothing like anything John has ever experienced, or any other Marine for that matter. The entire island is not covered in jungles like all the other ones. Iwo Jima is just straight volcanic ash that looks like this. The reason they need this island is because it's the only island big enough and in the right place that they're going to be able to land the new B-24 bombers on top of, and those are going to be critical in winning the rest of the war. This invasion is going to be absolutely massive. It's the biggest amphibious invasion in the United States Marine Corps history. Over 800 warships, 250,000 men, and 70,000 Marines. John and his men are going to be landing on Red Beach too, and as the first wave lands on Red Beach, nothing really happens. There's a little bit of enemy sniper fire here and there, but there wasn't artillery, there wasn't mortars, they weren't opening up on them with machine guns while they were in the Higgins boats, and as soon as they get on the beach, there's nothing there either. So the Marines just kind of lay down and get low, trying to not be an easy target for a sniper, and then the second wave lands, and then the third, and then John's on the beach with his men on Red Beach too, and he looks out and just sees clustered Marines laying along this beach on volcanic ash that you can't dig into, and he has the oh fuck moment, and he realizes what's about to happen. The Japanese absolutely have every square inch of this beach sighted in with mortars and artillery, and there's pillboxes and bunkhouses off in the distance that are probably concealed and you just can't see them yet. Chuck Tatum, one of John Bassilone's men, was laying down at the time, and he said that everybody had this feeling of like, maybe this is going to be an easy day. Maybe the Japanese got scared and they fled and retreated already out of the gate, and we've already won. And then he hears John Bassilone start screaming, "Get the fuck up and start moving up the beach or you're gonna die," as he literally starts kicking Marines in the ass and dragging them up by their collars and ordering them to push forward. And as soon as that happens, the Japanese open up with mortars, artillery, and the pillboxes unconceal themselves and start mowing down Marines with machine gun fire. There's nothing he can do about the mortars or artillery, but maybe John can do something about these pillboxes and the machine gun fire. There's one big Japanese bunkhouse up ahead that's mowing down Marines with its machine gun. John orders his men to get their machine guns up and start returning fire into the window holes of this bunkhouse. Once his men start laying down suppressing fire, hopefully keeping the Japanese from manning their guns effectively, John goes, he finds a demolition guy and a flamethrower, and he orders them to walk right up the machine gun's field of fire, right next to the bullets whizzing past him. It seems sketchy, but is literally the safest place to be right now. As soon as the demo man and the flamethrower almost make it to the window on the bunkhouse, John steps over his gunner, unhooks the machine gun from the tripod, grabs it by the handle around the barrel, effectively known as a Bassilone bail after this, yells at his man to grab the ammunition, and starts running up the beach as the demo man throws a satchel charge into the window and the flamethrower starts hitting all the windows with his flamethrower. John runs all the way up the beach. He runs up the hill that this bunkhouse is built into, and once he gets to the top of the hill, while holding the gun in his hands, he mows down all the Japanese running out the backside of the bunkhouse. At the top of the hill, John can see the airfield they need to take off in the distance, so he gets his machine gunner set up, gets the men that he has set up in a defensive position, and goes back down the beach to get the rest of his men, just like his mentor Chesty Puller would. He makes it back to the base of the beach, he gets all of his men, and they start making their way up the beach to secure this position. And then suddenly, John and 5 of his men are hit with a mortar, killing all of them. John Bassilone is credited with saving dozens, if not hundreds of Marines with his actions on the beach that day. For this, he was nominated for a second Medal of Honor, but by this point in time, it had become common practice to never award the Medal of Honor twice. So he was posthumously awarded a Navy Cross and a Purple Heart, becoming one of the most decorated Marines of all time. And many of the Marines that he saved that day would go on to take Iwo Jima and ultimately win World War II. And that is the story of John Bassilone, Manila John, the greatest machine gunner to ever live. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Whack bang out. I absolutely hate endings like that.
Give me the hand wave.
Sergeant, can you tell us something about how you happened to get this medal? You must have mowed them down.
Yes, sir. I was in a good outfit with good men. I just happened to be there, and any man would have done the same in my place.
Spoken just like a Marine. Can you tell us, Sergeant, something about how you happened to get this Congressional Medal of Honor?
Yes, sir. I was in a good outfit with good men. I just happened to be there, and anyone would have done the same in my place.
Spoken just like a Marine. Sergeant, where does your old man come from?
My father comes from Naples.
That was... Yeah, we got a Chesty Puller video too. But that made like when you mentioned like how it was one of the deadliest battles in World War II. It's like, yeah, he's probably gonna die, but it's just, it blows when stuff like that, with that ending, though. I don't like it. I hate it. War never changes. Yeah. You did say deadliest for a reason, 100%. Yeah, it isn't. It's a shame that, but it is what it is. Alright. The character does a lot. Alright. Chesty Puller. Honestly, I'm thinking about it. Probably should have done the Chesty Puller video first, but it's fine.
He shouted battlefield orders in a bellow that rattled the... He shouted battlefield orders in a bellow that rattled the halls of Montezuma.
Yeah,
he thrived on combat until he became a legend to his troops, the toughest fighting man in the whole United States Marine Corps. And when he retired in 1955 as a lieutenant general, he was the most decorated man in Marine Corps history. Here is the story of the most courageous warrior and legendary Marine of all time, General Louis Chesty Puller. Next on Marking History.
Why are we so persistent on remembering our history? I mean, I'm a very large believer that we have to study the past to avoid repeating our mistakes in the future. We have seen the Dan Daly video. Granted, I probably could not keep my military figures straight to save my life. Admittedly, but it doesn't repeat itself, but sometimes rhymes. You know what? That's pretty fair. That's pretty fair. Hey, welcome in FCC Pickett. Yeah, we're about to start a video about Chesty, which I don't know shit about. Yeah, it doesn't strictly repeat itself, but there's a lot of similarities. Different actors, different roles, similar bullshit. Sergeant First Class Pickett. Alright, let's get into this.
This is the historical marker for Lieutenant General Louis Burwell Chesty Puller. This marker is located in West Point, Virginia, where he was born and raised. In his 37 years of service in the United States Marine Corps, Louis Puller,
I can look
nicknamed
later.
Chesty, would rise
Oh,
through
the
ranks
person.
from private to general and become the most decorated Marine in American history. So how does a guy get a nickname like Chesty? We'll answer that question and more when we learn about the man behind the marker. Louis Burwell Puller was born on June 26, 1898, in the village of West Point, Virginia, to parents Matthew and Martha
I
Puller.
fucking hate West Point.
Puller came from a military family. He was grandson of Civil War veteran Major John W. Puller and cousin to another more famous soldier, U.S. Army General George S. Patton. Puller enrolled at his school of choice, the Virginia Military Institute, in 1917, when he was 19 years old. However, Lewis wanted to get into combat so strongly that he left VMI a year later and enlisted. Inspired by the Marines at Belleau Wood during World War I, he enlisted as a private in the United States Marine Corps.
The Marines I've seen around the world have the cleanest bodies, the filthiest minds, the highest morale, and the lowest morals of any group of animals I've ever seen. That is an interesting quote. That is a very interesting quote, but it does seem to track, though, from the few I've met.
June 27, 1918, Louis Puller entered the Marine boot camp at Parris Island, South Carolina. He showed himself as a natural-born leader and was ordered to drill instructor training school. Months later, Puller and his men were given orders to prepare to ship out for France. Days later, those orders were canceled before he could kill any Germans. It was Armistice Day, November 11, 1918, and World War I was over. Later the next year, on June 4, 1919, Louis Puller graduated from Marine Officer Training School at Quantico, Virginia, as a second
Do I really,
lieutenant.
Octavius?
On June 16th, Puller was discharged with hundreds of others of his rank due to post-war troop reductions. He had been a Marine officer for only 2 weeks. Now, the reason he had enlisted in the Marines was to pursue combat action. He found it in Haiti. When he heard about conflicts in Haiti, 21-year-old Puller re-enlisted as a Marine corporal and deployed to the island in 1919 to battle the fierce, jungle-wise Kako rebels. His first taste of combat came soon after arrival and without warning. About 4 a.m., the pack train was ambling around a wooded bend when they met an oncoming Kako band of about 100 rebels. Proving his instinct for combat, Puller spurred his horse and yelled, "Charge, attack, hurry!" The column charged, horses, mules, and all. The Kako rebels broke for the hills. Puller's only casualties were superficial bullet wounds to 5 of his horses and mules. For the next 4 years in Haiti, Puller made a name for himself by leading several very successful jungle engagements against the Kako rebels.
You know, Haiti is a country we don't really hear too much about in, like, history and stuff. So it's kind of interesting just hearing it. Haiti being mentioned here. Because, like, so many, like, France, German, Japan, but then a whole bunch of other ones, but Haiti is one we don't really hear a lot. I don't know, I'm not really familiar at all with any of Haiti's history. Boxer Rebellion. I feel like I should know that. Free from ads? Well, Haiti is a major anything. Okay, wait, that was in Haiti? I forgot that. I need to... Isn't. Okay, fair point. Fair point. I can always look it up later. It's no big deal. Or I could just find my history books.
Puller fought some 40 battles and gathered valuable experience in soldiering.
Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't think it was in
during those
Haiti.
guerrilla encounters. Puller developed his instinctive talent for utilizing terrain in battle and learned the lessons of jungle warfare. After his stint in Haiti, Puller returned to the U.S. in March 1924 and was recommissioned as a second lieutenant. Subsequently, he was assigned to the 10th Marine
Banana
Artillery
Wars.
Regiment.
Okay, I don't know really anything about the Banana Wars, so that might be why I don't know too much about Haiti in history. I don't really recall anything about the Banana Wars. Are you fucking with me, or are you being serious? I can't tell right now, Octavius. Banana Wars are a fun topic. I might have to go look into it. Hey, welcome in, Ruby. I guess I'm gonna be finding more history books to read later. Yeah, he came in a bit of a moment. The Banana Wars are real. Alright. Well, that part I kind of figured because of the last video we watched did have a mention of it, but as for like the actual context of behind it, I don't know. Start taking my history books, twin. I will dig into my history books after stream. Because I'm not digging into my closet to go find textbooks for stuff.
During his training, Puller learned that junior officers were no help in learning about the big guns. It was the enlisted men and the senior non-commissioned officers who were the experts. Puller's next assignment was to handle the Marine silent drill attachment. For years, Army, Navy, and Coast Guard teams have outshone the Corps in the National Silent Drill Competition. They had never won, despite their reputation as crack marching units. Lieutenant Puller took over with vigor. His message was, "We would bring home the cup or die trying." Puller took out the silent drill manual and started the training from scratch. When he was through, the men moved as one. The drill team gave him their all. At the Boston Drill Competition in 1925, the Marines wore rosin on their soles for safe, silent footing and went through their incredibly complex drill without a sound. When the competition was over, they had won their first trophy. In December 1928, Puller followed war to Nicaragua, a country even more rugged than Haiti. The Marine Corps was sent to train and lead the new Guardia Nacional forces against the guerrilla force led by the rebel chief Augusto Sandino. Chesty Puller's legend preceded him and served him well leading young men. They knew that he had their backs because he had humped through jungles, endured the harshest of conditions, and been wounded in battle just like them. Puller's Company M would earn notoriety among the rebels due to the ferocity they would employ in flushing them out. Puller's determination would earn him the nickname El Tigre in Nicaragua. Puller would lead his men and the Nicaraguan National Guard forces in over 60 battles against insurgents. Some say Puller got his famous nickname because of his big thrust-out chest. Others state that chesty was an old Marine expression meaning cocky. A few claim that he developed the chest from shouting commands above the noise of battle. "We don't need no frontline communications," men under Puller bragged. "Chesty yells commands up and down the line. You can hear him for miles." It wasn't long before Chesty Puller was awarded his first Navy Cross. the second highest commendation for valor in combat. According to the citation, between February 16th and August 19th, 1930, Puller systematically led his forces into 5 successful engagements against superior numbers of armed bandit forces. His valor and achievements in battle earned him rapid promotion, and by the time he was shipped out from Nicaragua in 1930, he was a first lieutenant. In September 1931, Puller reported to Fort Benning, Georgia, and the Army's infantry school. It wasn't long before Puller started open disputes with his Army rifle training instructors.
Okay.
One lecturer told students that volume of fire in the field was more important than accuracy. That brought Lieutenant Puller to his feet.
I appreciate that.
You must have forgotten what happened in the American Revolution. We won that war with accurate fire when the enemy had all the volume. We won at Kings Mountain and Saratoga and every other battle that we won. It's still like that. Anywhere I've seen men shooting it out, you don't hurt them if you don't hit them.
Puller returned to Nicaragua in September 1932. Upon hearing this news, the rebel bandit Sandino put a price of 5,000 pesos on the head of El Tigre. Lieutenant Puller earned his second Navy Cross for his combat leadership in actions between September 20th to October 1st, 1932.
Hey, Oakman and Tom, I hope you're doing well today.
During that time, Puller's Company M completed a daring 10-day march of over 150 miles, fought 4 engagements, and killed at least 30 bandits. Although Chesty appeared to be a confirmed bachelor, he kept steady correspondence to a pretty brown-eyed girl which he met at a local dance in 1926, Miss Virginia Evans. Like a battle, Lewis Puller kept up his siege to marry this girl, writing to her each day for the next 11 years. After his service in Nicaragua, Puller was assigned to many commands during the next 8 years. 1933, Peking, commanding the famous Horse Marines. 1934, on the USS Augusta Navy cruiser, serving under Captain Chester Nimitz. 1936, at the Philadelphia Officer Training School, where he was promoted to captain. 1937, November 13th to be exact, where he married his sweetheart, Virginia Evans. 1939, returned to the USS Augusta as commander of an onboard Marine detachment. 1940, Shanghai, commanding officer of the 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines. As tensions increased in the Pacific between Japan and China, the American military presence in China
We
was
are
drawn
learning
down.
about Chesty Puller today.
In August 1941, Puller returned to the U.S. and reported to the new Marine base in the North Carolina swamplands at New River, later renamed Camp Luzerne. There, he trained his men for a war he knew was coming. Guadalcanal was a jumbled landmass about 90 miles long and the nearest Japanese outpost to Australia, and a threat to American supply lines in the South Pacific. Soon after arriving on Guadalcanal in September 1942, Lieutenant Colonel Puller led his battalion in fierce action along the Matanacao River. It was Puller's quick thinking that saved 3 of his companies from annihilation. In the action, these companies were surrounded and cut off by a larger Japanese force. Puller ran to the shore and signaled a United States Navy destroyer, the USS Ballard. After boarding the ship, Puller directed the destroyer to provide fire support while landing craft rescued his Marines from their precarious position. For his actions, Lieutenant Colonel Puller was awarded the Bronze Star Medal with Combat V. Chesty felt every problem had a solution. Late one night, Chesty deliberately lit his pipe in the open and then quickly fell and rolled over in the dirt to draw machine gun fire from an enemy nest. His own gunners cleaned out the Japanese machine gun nest by firing at the muzzle flashes. Although Puller was a warrior to his men,
Sometimes.
he was a softy with his family. Not only did Chesty write to Virginia every day, he also sent his beautiful wife a dozen roses every 13th day of each month to commemorate their wedding anniversary. If we know Chesty, it was standing orders for the local
I
force.
don't play any of those.
Later on Guadalcanal, Puller was awarded his 3rd Navy Cross in what became known as the Battle for Henderson Field. Colonel Chesty Puller and his famed 1st Battalion 7th Marines saved Henderson Field on Guadalcanal one long rainy night by fighting off the equivalent of a Japanese division. Puller's men shoved away Japanese bodies to keep open their fields of fire. When the water supply gave out, they urinated into their liquid-cooled machine guns to keep them operating. Puller was wounded twice by bullets and half a dozen times by shell fragments. During the 3-hour firefight, Puller's Marines suffered only 70 casualties. The Japanese force suffered over 1,400 killed in action.
Fucking
and the
hell.
Americans held the airfield. It was in this battle that fellow Marine Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone would earn his Medal of Honor for heroism. Puller was awarded his 4th Navy Cross for overall performance of duty at the battle at Cape Gloucester.
Out of curiosity, is there a limit to like how many like Navy Crosses and stuff you can get? Just general question. Because 4 seems like a lot. The only limit is how long you live. I mean, that's technical, yeah, but is it likely? No. Well, I'm just genuinely curious here. Because I know a few of them have limits to how many times you can get them, so it's just a little curious on that. 15. Huh. That does seem like a lot. No, imagine the amount of combat you'd have to see to get that many. It would be absolutely insane.
On the island of New Britain, New Guinea. After the commanding officer and executive officer were wounded, Lieutenant Colonel Puller did not hesitate to expose himself to rifle, machine gun, and mortar fire from strongly entrenched Japanese positions, moving from company to company in his front lines, reorganizing and maintaining a critical position along a fire-swept ridge. He led the successful attack against heavily fortified Japanese defense positions. Casualties during operations to secure Cape Gloucester amounted to 310 Americans killed. The Japanese losses exceeded 2,000 killed.
Well, I mean, 15 is a lot.
In September and October 1944, Puller led the 1st Marine Regiment into the meat grinder called Peleliu, one of the Palau Islands. They were sent in to capture an airfield on this small coral island. It was one of the bloodiest battles in Marine Corps history, and where Puller received his first of 2 Legion of Merit awards. The 1st Marines suffered 1,749 casualties from September 12th until they were relieved on September 30th. No Marine regiment has ever suffered as many casualties in a single campaign. Because of the incredible number of casualties, Puller's famed reputation was severely tarnished. Harsh criticism, much of it unjust or misplaced, would dog his reputation thereafter.
Hey, welcome in, Jeb.
At the outbreak of the Korean War, Puller was once again assigned as commander of the 1st Marine Regiment. He led his old regiment in a daring, amphibious assault on Incheon during vicious street fighting in Seoul and through the maelstrom of sub-freezing weather and relentless Chinese human wave attacks in the Chosin Reservoir campaign. It was during the Battle of Chosin Reservoir that Colonel Puller won his 5th Navy Cross for heroism.
Oh yeah, Chosin.
Massively outnumbered, Puller was quoted as saying, "We've been looking for the enemy for some time now. We finally found him. We're surrounded. That simplifies things." Puller and his Marines conducted a fighting withdrawal from Chosin Reservoir that crippled 7 Chinese divisions in the process. "We're not retreating," he told his Marines. "We're about face to get more of those bastards. Be proud, you're first Marines." The final toll was 718 dead Marines and 3,500 wounded. Communist losses, supported by captured documents: 25,000 dead, 12,500 wounded. Over the next few years, Chesty Puller received promotions: Brigadier General, Major General, and finally Lieutenant General. He served in various command capacities until he suffered a stroke on August 26, 1954. In 1955, over his roaring protest, Lieutenant General Chesty Puller was retired from the Corps on the grounds he was suffering from high blood pressure. After a decidedly noisy life, he died quietly on October 11, 1971. Surprisingly, not in Arlington Cemetery, but in his small Virginia town of Saluda is buried the most decorated U.S. Marine of all time. In 1925, Louis Chesty Puller was photographed with the Marine Corps' first mascot, the muscular, stubborn, and courageous Bulldog. Today, each new Marine Bulldog mascot is named Chesty Pullerton to honor the toughest leatherneck of all time. To this day, Marines at Parris Island end their day by saying the unofficial lights out slogan of the Corps: "Good night, Chesty, wherever you are."
Used to sell mascots on the
If
East and
history
West
can be
depots.
taught with stories,
Interesting.
it can never be forgotten. Please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to stay informed on the latest videos. And
Huh. It's a male bulldog. It's Chesty. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that because I'm pretty sure I butchered the hell out of it. But yeah, I can see why you suggest why you said Chesty Puller. I can see why now. Ofame? No. Oh, okay, okay. Sometimes I can pronounce things. That was one hell of an individual. Alright, Octavius. I will perhaps catch you later. Alright. Should probably refill my water. Man. I don't even know what to think after that one. Between Chesty Puller and Barcelona. That was a lot. Like, two definitely very, very certified badasses. I would do Dan Daly, but I've already watched the Dan Daly video. Although, great individual, Alright. Although I do have a video for, oh god, I cannot pronounce that name. I think it's, is that French? Robert de la... Yeah, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that because that is definitely not English. I'm going to butcher the hell out of that. Bullard? No, This last name is frying me on pronunciation because I can tell it's not English. So if any of you guys got it, because I got nothing. Alright, Jeb. You look yeah, like that's the name. It's like I can tell it's not English, but I want to say I feel like it's French, but I don't know anything about French pronunciation. But it's a video about a demolition man. But fancy. It is a fancy name. 100%, but I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna go refill my water, and then we'll get into this video. Look, I don't know anything about him yet. I'm just going off the title of the video. Okay, but it is French. Rochenfaux? Rochenfaux called. That is a mouthful. Like, I figured he was a very decorated individual since, Nick, the fat electrician, made a video about the guy, but the only thing I could tell right off the bat is that it was a demolition man. Which admittedly was probably a little undeserving just to call him a demo man. Admittedly. Drop the trio of videos. Thanks, Jeb. Alright, we're gonna... Alright. Let us learn more about this Frenchman. Ads in you know what? Alright, you know what? We'll wait for the ads. We will wait for them and then we'll do the video. Because I don't feel like waiting just to start the thing and just have ads just pop up in the middle of it or right at the start. Alright, Jeb. Appreciate you poking on in for a little bit. Better drink water and stretch. I mean, I got the water right here, even though I could use a good stretch though. It has been like an hour. Alright, if I can just pull up my... Where's my ad timer? My life. my bones are pretty noisy. They always have been. If this person is a Demolition Man, maybe the Stallone movie is named after him. I don't know what movie you're talking about. Just like I don't know what Hacksaw Ridge is. Everyone's skeleton is noisy. Bones are there. What the hell? I don't know what Hacksaw Ridge is. So, little thing, there's a lot of stuff I have not watched, seen, or know of. Because I had a very cultured, very sheltered life and stuff. So there's a lot I've been still like slowly learning and getting to. Please watch Demolition Man. I stream it as the new community movie night. I need to figure out when we're gonna have our next community movie night. Could potentially maybe after, I don't know. Got Halo with Tanya tomorrow. We got the Habitual Line Crosser Marathon on Wednesday. So perhaps, I mean, Wednesday or Saturday could probably work, honestly. Now that I think about it. So we did do a game night this past Saturday. Okay, oh, right. I don't have the other browser on this computer. Right. But I do have Demolition Man on the list of movies for me to watch, so I do have it on the list. Well, I was waiting for the ads to come through, so. Demolition Man, fucking 13 Reasons. I don't even know what else we. It's been a lot. Okay, if the ads are just started, then just wait for Pickett to get back, and then we should be good. Don't see. Demolition Man, 13 Reasons. What else is in there? I haven't actually looked at the movie suggestions in a minute. Hey, welcome in, JC. How you doing? You're free from the ads? Alrighty, we can start this. Hell yeah. Can close this for now. Alright. And your brain all cartridge 13 Ghosts. No, I would not last at all watching that movie. Absolutely not. Yeah. I'm over there. I'm over on Twitch too. Same name. Alright. Let's get into this.
Americans very often, but when I do, you know it's something absolutely crazy. Today we're talking about Robert La Rochefoucauld, a boy that escaped Nazi-occupied France, made his way over to Great Britain where he was trained by the British SOE, also known as the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. After completing his training, he was at...
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is one hell of an organization name.
Parachuted back into Nazi-occupied France, where he was tasked with training French resistance fighters in how to be saboteurs and carrying out guerrilla warfare, as well as carrying out massive sabotage missions himself before being captured by the Nazis, tortured, sentenced to death, and somehow escaping before he would get rescued and then jump back into France and do it all over again. And we're going to get into it right after a word from our sponsor.
I'm not sure.
Why'd you give me a shotgun?
I just know it was in the suggested movie stuff.
Nothing. Just keep firing a lot. Preferably in slow motion. It's absolutely worth it. If you want to check them out, I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, our story begins in Paris, France in 1923 when Robert La Rochefoucauld was born. He is one of 10 children. And unlike pretty much every other World War II war hero I've talked about on this channel, he did not grow up poor in poverty during the Great Depression.
You messed with his eyesight, right? No.
And that is
not the Great Depression? Oh, well then, he's French. But that's a different change.
because the last name La Rochefoucauld is quite literally French nobility dating back over 1,000 years. This guy grew up in a mansion right next to the Eiffel Tower and spent his summer times going off to grandma's house. And when I say grandma's house, what I really mean is grandma's castle that had 30 bedrooms.
Jesus!
How did he get to grandma's house every summer? Great question. He took the family's private luxury train.
Christina.
Oh, so this guy's from a wealthy family. That's just very different in comparison to a lot of these.
Homie did not have a normal life, okay? He was going to fancy private schools, had everything served to him on a silver platter, literally learned 3 languages by the time he was 18. That being said, we do need to understand the culture of the broader society that he grew up in. While he individually may have been living in a life of luxury, the rest of France was still rebuilding its country after World War I. During World War I, France lost approximately 20% of its male population between the ages of 18 and 50. Literally think of 5 men you know, and then imagine if one of them died, and then extrapolate that out through the entire country you live in. This obviously has enormous ramifications for the entire country and culture, and leads to quite a bit of animosity towards Germany. Because of that, in the La Rochefoucauld household, they were not allowed to have any products that were made in Germany, and despite the fact that he had learned 3 languages, he was not allowed to learn German because, as his mother said, he was not allowed to practice such an indelicate tongue. On top of that, his father served in World War I and was injured and had to use a cane for the rest of his life. So there was a lot of animosity towards Germany in the broader French culture, as well as in his household specifically. And that animosity got cranked up to about 1,000 when he was 16 years old and Germany invaded France. When Germany invaded France, Paris was considered an open city, which basically meant we don't want you to destroy the entire city. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of people there. So we're just not going to defend it. You can roll in, occupy, seize that territory, and we're not going to put up much of a fight, which is exactly what happened. And within days of Germany occupying Paris, they started rounding up people they thought could potentially become an issue. And one of the people that came to mind was Robert's dad, who was a World War I veteran and French nobleman that was obviously loyal to France. So they threw him in prison. Because of this, Robert, his mother, and his siblings all fled to Grandma's castle.
We make for the refuge of Helm's Deep.
While there, he began listening to the radio where Charles de Gaulle was speaking. Charles de Gaulle was a general in the French military that, after France fell, fled to the UK, and he was basically declared the leader of Free France and was going on the radio every day, encouraging the French to fight and advocating for France to fight back and reclaim their home. And being a 16-year-old teenager who had a ton of pride in his home country of France and grew up in this family of nobility with all these famous great men that came before him that did incredible things for the country, growing up in a society that already didn't really like Germany, not liking Germany himself, and having them roll in and imprison his father, naturally he ate that shit up.
Yeah.
And it gets even worse when the situation in Paris stabilizes, so him and his mom and his siblings go back home and find out that Nazis have occupied their house. Upon their arrival, the Germans agree to let them live in the house, but they're still gonna live in the house too, so now he...
Oh, that's just rude.
...is quite literally a 16-year-old who does not like Nazis that is being forced to be a roommate with a bunch of Nazis.
Can you just, I don't know, just like poison the food and call it a day?
From the ages of 16 to 19, he is living at
I know
home,
it's not that
finishing up
simple.
high school, starting to go to college, and he is being a roommate with the
Oh yeah,
Nazis
the silence
the
is
entire time.
deafening.
And he absolutely hates it. His mother has to get him to control his temper multiple times. Now, during this 3-year time period, it's weird. There's not a lot militarily going on in France. I mean, there's Nazi soldiers all over the place, but for the most part, they're just like blending into society, and the Nazis are trying to, you know, not be the bad guys, so they're actually being halfway polite to a lot of people. The soldiers are, you know, ordered to give up their seats on trains and buses to elderly women and citizens, and a lot of people are adapting to this new lifestyle of the Germans are just occupying us.
I really don't think halfway polite is really the right term for that. Granted, I'm not sure what the term is, but I would not be using the term polite, for half polite, when you're occupying. I would not. It's like, it's fuck. You're still not welcome there.
But Robert never adapts. He's a rebellious teenager. He keeps listening to Charles de Gaulle on the radio, and he feels a deep dishonor. He feels like he's letting down his country and his family legacy because all of the family members that came before him all went off and they fought for France, and he's a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kid that can't do anything about it because nobody else is fighting. And then one day, the mailman that delivers mail to the Gestapo headquarters comes to the La Rochefoucauld household and says, "Hey, I delivered the mail to this police department, and they got a letter. I steamed it open so I could read it to see who they're going to arrest next, and Robert La Rochefoucauld has been reported as being a communist sympathizer, and they're going to come arrest him." Now, that's not true, but doesn't really matter. The Gestapo thinks it is, and they're going to come arrest him. So, at the age of 19, he has to flee. So, he gets 2 fake IDs with 2 different names, and then alternates which ID he's giving every time he has to show his papers. That way, it makes it harder for him to track. He makes his way all the way to Spain, where he links up with the resistance, and he tells them that he's actually a French-Canadian, and he's trying to make his way back to Great Britain so he can keep fighting against the Nazis. Which is brilliant, because remember, he's trilingual. He speaks French, English, and Spanish, and this is going to explain his accent to anybody that wonders. So they buy his story. He gets linked up with 2 downed British pilots, and they end up smuggling them back into Great Britain. And he's hoping that once he gets there, he's going to be able to link up with Charles de Gaulle and help fight for France. Once he makes his way to Great Britain, he is interrogated by British intelligence pretty rigorously, which is standard procedure, making sure he's not a spy or a double agent or something like that. And they don't torture him, but what they do is they sit him in a room, they interview him, they ask him all their questions. He lies, he says he's 21, he says he's French-Canadian, trying to get his way into Great Britain. And they end up sitting him in this room for hours on end. They feed him a bunch of tea and then refuse to let him go to the bathroom. And then they go in after hours and interview him again to see if having a full bladder and really having to take a piss is going to change his answer or make him alter his story in any way, which will reveal that he's up to something.
Creative solution. Creative method.
At which point, he basically just comes clean, tells the whole truth. He's 19, his name's Robert La Rochefoucauld, and one of the interviewers recognizes his name as French nobility. At which point, nepotism kicks in. They're like, oh, French nobility is not going to be a spy. Cool. We're going to send in a guy that'll talk to you if you really want to go fight the Germans. And they send in a guy by the name of P.K. Wicks. And he's an officer in the British SOE, the Special Operations Executive, that Winston Churchill created to, quote, set Europe ablaze. He also gave them the name the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Guilty as charged.
Basically, these guys are the inspiration for 007. P.K. Wicks comes to him. He's like, hey, you're French nobility. We want you. If you'll have you, here's the thing. You got to pass this super rigorous training. But if you pass, we'll jump your ass back into France and you can take the fight to the Germans. Robert is immediately interested because he really wants to fight the Germans, but he still wants to talk to General de Gaulle first to figure out if there's something more he could be doing. So P.K. Wicks organizes a meeting between Robert La Rochefoucauld and General de Gaulle. They have a meeting. We don't really know what's said, but when he comes out of the meeting, he agrees that he's going to try to be part of the British SOE. From here, they ship him off to training. In the first 3 weeks, his basic training is basically one giant smoke session, running, push-ups, beating these guys up, making them swim when they're tired, making them cold, making them hot, trying to weed out all the weak people. Robert makes it through. After that, potential SOE operatives are sorted into 3 different categories. You've got your general spies, your communication experts, and your saboteurs, your demolition men.
What makes me a good demo man? I wouldn't be sitting here discussing it with you now, would I?
From here, he learns learns everything about sabotage. He not only learns how to make bombs, but more importantly,
God, I
how to
love that clip
utilize
from
those bombs
TF2.
to be most effective. He learns where to put them on a bridge to destabilize the entire structure. If he's going to take out a factory, he learns how to identify the most important components of the factory to take that factory out of commission for as long as possible. He learns that you shouldn't just attack power lines, you should attack the transformers that feed them, because that's what's going to take longer to replace. He learns that you shouldn't just target a railroad or a train, you should also take out all the cranes and heavy equipment that's going to be needed to clear that wreckage to repair it as well. After that, he learns how to be a paratrooper, and then the real spy training starts.
You know what, sir? I can't say that I am shocked because I felt very good about this year's test.
The SOE brings in a guy by the name of Eric Sykes, who's regarded as like one of the best combat shooters in the world. He's going to teach these guys how to use guns in actual combat, not just go set out on a range and shoot at a static target. He's going to put them through full-on shoot house training, and he's going to learn from the best. After that, they bring in Eric Fairbairn, who's one of, if not the best hand-to-hand combat experts at this point in time in the entire world. This guy was former British military, and then after that went off and became a cop in Shanghai, which was one of the most violent cities in the world at this point in time. While he was there, he was jumped by a gang and stabbed 12 times.
Just a flesh wound.
Somehow he managed to survive, and then decided that shit's never going to happen again, and decided he was going to learn every single martial art that he could. This guy studied jiu-jitsu, became a second-degree black belt in judo, studied boxing, kickboxing, savate, wrestling, knife fighting, and anything else he could get his hands on. While he was still being a cop in Shanghai, his official police record logs over 600 real-world fights, and he helped found the first ever SWAT team in world history. So between Sykes and Fairbairn, they basically turn him into John Wick in a fighting system that they refer to as gutter fighting.
Oh my.
From here, he has his final test, and the final test is they are going to yeet him out the back of a plane in a parachute with no map, no compass, no equipment, somewhere in the UK, and he has to make his way all the way back to SOE headquarters without being captured by the police. And they have notified the police that they need to track his ass down. Now, luckily,
they just don't get the they don't get the FA, they just get the FO.
His teammate breaks his ankle as soon as he jumps out of the plane. So Robert is like, fuck it, we ball, goes, steals a military truck, drives it back, picks up his teammate, and drives them straight back to SOE headquarters, and he's back the next day by like lunch, breaking the course record by a ridiculous amount of time. At which point the chain of command is like, that was super, super illegal, but also the exact kind of ungentlemanly shit we're looking for. You're in. Out of his class of 30 men, only 7 of them graduated, and he's one of them. All right, summer 1943. Since Robert has left France, things have changed a lot. When he left, you had the German-occupied section of France, and then you had Free France, or Vichy France, which was still kind of under Germany's control, but they were putting on the illusion that France still kind of existed as its own sovereign nation. And that was a big part of the reason when Robert was in France that people weren't as willing to fight, because there was still technically France as a sovereign nation, so to speak. But by the summer of 1943, that has changed as World War II has ramped up. The Nazis now occupy all of France. In addition to that, they are also forcing French people to work inside of factories, even sending some of them into Germany to work in their factories to aid with the war effort. Obviously, because of this, an enormous amount of the French
If you could find me a video about that, Wraith, I would really appreciate it, because I'm actually really interested in that.
population is pissed off, so that means that a bunch more of them are going to be willing to either A, help the resistance, or B, join the resistance themselves. The obvious problem, they don't have guns and they don't know what they're doing, and that is where Robert comes in. British SOE is linked up with the French resistance and told them they are going to be airdropping in an expert, and he is going to come with a bunch of guns and plastic explosives that he's going to distribute out to the French resistance, and then he's going to provide training and help them go out and sabotage the Germans. June 1943, he boards a plane headed off towards Nazi-occupied France. He is going to get dropped off at a certain zone, and the French resistance is going to be there waiting for him. On the way there, the plane gets lit up by German anti-aircraft fire. Luckily, they manage to limp the plane to the right drop zone. Robert jumps out. They throw out all the crates of guns and plastic explosives behind him, and then they take off. Robert never finds out what actually happened to that plane. So Robert hits the ground. French resistance runs out. They meet up with him. He's like, hey, we got lit up by the Germans. The Germans know that we're doing something here. We got to get all this shit on the trucks and dip, which is exactly what they do. Now, initially, Robert has some difficulties with the French resistance because they said that they were going to be parachuting in some badass expert, and then a 19-year-old kid shows up getting thrown out of a plane, and he's talking to a bunch of French resistance fighters that are, you know, normal dudes in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and now they're taking orders from some 19-year-old kid. But his skills spoke for themselves, and they eventually ended up having a huge amount of respect for him, and he gained a ton of notoriety throughout all of France. For about the next 5 months, he trained dozens of French resistance fighters in how to be saboteurs, using guns, using plastic explosives, as well as carrying out sabotage missions himself. During this time, they took out a ton of rail lines, they took out a power plant, and they took out a repair yard for German heavy equipment. So things are going really well for about 5 months, but then obviously as the French resistance continues to get bigger and continues to get more effective, the Nazis are going to react, and they start sending in more secret police, and they actually have these secret police go in and start joining the French resistance so they can figure out who's who, and then they start arresting everybody. And by November of 1943, it gets to the point that they are capturing a ton of people, so a lot of the French resistance fighters, Robert included, all just kind of have to lay low for a while. So he goes out in the country, finds an abandoned barn, and he's just living inside of this abandoned barn, trying to go unnoticed by absolutely everyone. Robert is especially scared of getting captured because by this point in the war, the Germans somehow have figured out that the British SOE, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, exists, and Hitler has signed the order that they are to be killed on sight. Now, technically that is a war crime, but the Germans argued that because they were operating in civilian clothing in German-occupied territory, they were an illegal combatant, so they were allowed to kill them. On top of that, the Germans aren't super renowned for caring about war crimes in the first place. So Robert is laying low inside of this abandoned barn out in the country for about a month. It's just long day after long day, waiting, and then one day on December 7th, 1943, a bunch of cop cars pull up to the barn. They go inside the barn, they arrest Robert. Robert tries to feed him a line of bullshit like, oh, I'm just, you know, some homeless guy that's traveling. I got tired. I pulled over in this barn to take a nap. The Germans then search the barn, find a bunch of plastic explosives and submachine guns, and he's like, those aren't mine. Obviously, they don't believe him.
I don't even know what this is. This sort of thing ain't my bag, baby.
One book, Swedish-made penis in larger pumps and me. This sort of thing is my bag, baby.
Ah.
At this point, Robert is like, okay, well, I'm dead. I'm about to get shot in this barn right now because I'm British SOE. But that's not what they do. They handcuff him, they throw him in a car, and they start taking him off to prison. And the entire car ride there, he's like, why didn't they just kill me? What is going to happen next? Oh, they're probably going to torture me and then kill me. Great.
Torture or
like
interrogate.
Trying to figure out why they didn't kill
guess.
him right there on the spot like they had orders to do. And it dawns on him, they probably didn't do it because he speaks fluent French, doesn't have an accent, and the dude kind of looks French. His family's been there for 1,000 years, so they didn't just instinctively think that he was British SOE. Realizing this, when he gets to the prison, for the first and only time during his operational career, he actually gives the Germans his real name because La Rochefoucauld, super French name that's well known, and then that's going to add to, oh, he's just French resistance, he's not British SOE, so at least he won't get executed immediately. From here, he gets thrown in solitary confinement for a couple of days. Obviously, they're trying to soften him up before they interrogate him, but he's already been in solitary confinement for like the past month inside of a barn, so it doesn't really affect him.
Boy, they went all out on this one, huh?
From here, they take him in, they interrogate him. It becomes pretty obvious to Robert that they think he's a communist, so he kind of like goes along with it, not by saying that he is a communist, but by refusing to admit that he's a communist, trying to get the Germans to prove it, and then that way it kind of like gives them tunnel vision that they're trying to prove that this guy's a communist. Basically, he's doing anything and everything he can to not get identified as British SOE. After the initial interrogations, they throw him into a normal cell, and he has a cellmate with him, and within being in the room with the cellmate for like 20 minutes, the guy has an epileptic seizure, falls onto the ground. 2 guards rush in, they start freaking out, they don't know what to do. Robert's just kind of sitting on the bed watching this whole thing go down. The 2 guards are helping the guy having the seizure. The door is wide open, and he's just like, huh. They end up taking the guy to the infirmary. Robert never sees him again. From here, they start interrogating Robert every day for multiple hours a day. When I say interrogating, I mean torturing. Now, we don't know exactly what Robert himself was subjected to, but we do know the methods that were being used in this prison at this time period. Those included waterboarding, getting beaten with bats, having your testicles shocked, having the soles of your feet cut open and being forced to walk on salt, the pulling out of teeth, the pulling out of fingernails, and there's even a couple accounts of prisoners being forced or strapped down over a toilet that was full of starving rats. And this goes on every day for months. Robert never says shit, or at least never says anything true or that's actually helpful to the Nazis. He keeps leaning back on his training. He keeps getting angry at the torture. He's yelling
That's
at
creative,
the guy. He's just
but Ugh.
not fun, you know what I mean? I've never tortured anybody, don't really want to, but I would imagine if you've tortured 100 people and they're all, you know, begging you to stop and crying and being sad, and you've got one guy that's yelling at you being a dick, it probably makes it a little bit less fun.
Where did you get those relics from? The Shah Ferran's garage sale?
You know, I don't even think you want to be tortured.
I don't want to be tortured.
You're just like taking all the fun out of it.
During this entire time period, the only good thing that happens is, for some reason, I have no idea why,
True.
the Germans are still allowing the prisoners to receive mail. And there's somebody from inside the local community that is sending in care packages to just random people. And Robert keeps getting these care packages with like chocolate and food and bread and shit. And that's what keeps him going. Other than that, it's just day after day of getting tortured for hours upon hours. And this goes on for months. December, January, February. By March, he's really starting to lose hope. He still has his cyanide pill hidden on him, and he's really starting to think about using it. And then on March 7th, he ends up getting pulled from his cell and sent into a tribunal, basically a kangaroo court, where he is going to go on trial for his crimes. So Robert finds out he's going on trial. He's like getting ready to argue, getting his story straight that he was just some random dude passing by. He had no idea that there were weapons inside the barn. He goes inside this military tribunal, doesn't really even get to say anything. They're just like, yep, he is guilty, sentence him to death on the spot. They take him out, they load him in the back of a truck, and the truck takes off. So Robert is now in the back of a truck, moving down the road with a couple of other prisoners, a couple of other guards. He has no idea where they're going, but he knows what happens when they get there. They're gonna kill him. Now remember, the Germans never figured out that he was SOE. They have no idea that he's been trained to, I don't know, kill people with
Jigs,
his bare
welcome on in.
hands or any number of other things. So they decided that he was just some other French guy that they tortured for 4 months and is probably broken, so they didn't bother to throw him in the truck with handcuffs, just like any other type of prisoner. So Robert hits one of the guards and jumps out of the back of this moving truck, tucks and rolls, and takes off running as fast as he can. The other guard stands up, starts shooting at Robert, but only for a second, because after the first couple of bullets, which missed, the driver ends up slamming on the brakes because he hears gunfire, not knowing what's going on, ends up knocking the guard down, and it gives Robert enough time to make it to the corner and turn it so he's not in their direct line of sight. From here, he just keeps running as fast as he can, taking every single corner, every back alley, trying to lose the Germans. After a couple miles, he hasn't heard the truck behind him in a while, and he's finally starting to think to himself, okay, cool, I managed to lose that truck. He turns one more corner and runs smack dab into a Nazi headquarters
Thank for the follow, Kana.
At this point, he's like, fuck, what do I do? Because if I turn around and run the other way, that's going to look suspicious. There's guards in front of this place. Okay, I'm just going to play it cool. Stops running, starts walking, acting and pretending like he's supposed to be there. The problem is, he's still wearing his clothes from 4 months ago when he was captured. He's got a beard. He looks like shit. He smells terrible. Whatever, we just got to roll with it. And he keeps walking towards this Nazi headquarters building and goes to walk right past it. And right at the main gate, there's this big fancy Nazi limo with little Nazi swastika flags on the side, and he kind of looks inside of it. There's keys inside the limo, looks across the street. The driver is clearly waiting for somebody, smoking a cigarette right across from the limo, and he's like, fuck it, jumps in the limo, turns the key, peels out.
I mean, keys in the ignition, so free game. I mean, they're not using it.
The driver across the street pulls out a pistol, starts shooting at the car, doesn't do any real damage. He turns a corner. He's doing the same thing now, but inside of the car, just speeding off, taking corner after corner, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do. And then he sees a sign, Paris, that way. And he's like, okay, well, at least I know people in Paris, so that's where he goes. Makes it to the outskirts of town, runs face first into a Nazi checkpoint. Again,
is it really a crime?
Just, you know, turn around and try a different route, because that's going to look suspicious, especially if they've already radioed to look out for this car that he just stole. So he just kind of joins the queue. He gets in line with all the other cars, waiting to get their papers checked and get waved through, and he just waits, and then he's up next. The Germans start walking up. There's no cars in front of him. He just floors it and drives through the barricade. The Germans start shooting up the car. They hit the car a ton, but luckily they don't hit him. From here, he drives the car as far and as fast as he can until there's black smoke just coming out of the hood of this car, and he's like, okay, gotta ditch this thing. Finds an abandoned quarry, drives it into the abandoned quarry off of a cliff. It explodes, and now he's just out in the middle of nowhere with absolutely nothing. And from here, he does the exact opposite of what you would expect him to do. He goes out into the woods, sleeps overnight, and then in the morning walks back into the same town that he just escaped. And his logic was the Germans last saw him heading as fast as he could out of town. They're probably not going to be looking for him too hard inside of town, so that's exactly where he goes. And he decides he's going to go to the only place he knows where somebody kind of sort of might actually like him, and he goes to the return address that was on all those care packages that he got when he was in prison. It ends up being a Nazi-occupied hotel, and the guy that was sending all the packages is the guy that runs the hotel. So he goes there, that guy takes him in, gets him cleaned up, feeds him, lets him stay there for a couple of days while he gets him fake papers, and then he smuggles him out of town in the back of his truck in a giant pile of hay. And as they go through the Nazi checkpoint, the guy's like, oh, I'm just, I run the hotel in town. All the Nazis know who this guy is. He runs the Nazi hotel. He's like, I'm going to feed all this hay to my sheep. The Germans go in, they stab the hay pile with bayonets, somehow missing La Rochefoucauld every single time, and then they make it out of town. They go to the next town over, go to the train station, uses his fake papers to get on a train headed towards Paris. Once he gets on the train, he's sitting in the back and he can see Nazis coming through inspecting everybody's papers. And he's like, oh, shit. And he's like, okay, well, I've got fake papers, but I don't know how good these fake papers actually are. They were good enough to get past the guy running the train station, but he's not a soldier clearly looking for somebody. And if these guys find out my papers are fake, it's game over. So he gets up, goes to the bathroom, crams himself into the little cabinet underneath the sink, and stays there for the entire train ride back to Paris.
Damn.
Once he gets back to Paris, he goes to his aunt and his uncle's house. They're happy to see him. They feed him, they clothe him, they get him everything he needs for a couple of days. He links back up with the French resistance. They get a message over to British SOE, and a couple of days after that, he gets extracted via either submarine or gunboat, depending on which source you want to read. Makes it back to Great Britain, gets interrogated all over again, making sure that he didn't get turned into a double agent, and from there, he gets to spend some time recovering from getting tortured and starved for 4 months straight. All right, spring 1944, he's recovered, things are starting to ramp up for D-Day, and he volunteers to jump back into France to help set the stage for D-Day. Same thing happens all over again. This time he jumps into Britannia right along the Atlantic coast, and he just goes in, meets up with all the resistance, starts training as many guys as he can, distributes.
Is that minutes or seconds?
And goes out on missions, sabotaging rail lines, electrical plants, everything and anything that he can find to slow the Germans down for when D-Day comes. And again, the same exact thing happens. He's there for like 2-3 months, and then the Germans start realizing that the French resistance has suddenly gotten way more effective, so they start sending in a bunch of more people to break up the French resistance, and he's like, I'm not getting fucking captured again. I've made it this far without getting captured. I did a bunch of damage. He calls in, gets extracted, makes his way back to Great Britain.
That's all, folks.
I always liked history.
All right, April 29th, 1944, the British launch a massive bombing campaign on a French munitions factory that is building ammo for the Nazis, and they bomb the holy hell out of it, but it's only down for about a week before they start producing ammunition again. At this point, the British are like, okay, a couple of options. We could bomb it again. I mean, bombs are effective, but they're not like pinpoint accurate. We're not going to be able to go in there, find out where the most important parts of this factory are, and target those specifically. We're just kind of like trying to blow the whole thing to hell. But the downside is it's really risky. You're putting all the planes, all the soldiers' lives at risk. It's a big deal. So we could also just have a saboteur go in there, pinpoint a couple of things, and take this factory out of commission. And that's what they decide to do. They call up La Rochefoucauld, he jumps back into France, and now he is tasked with taking out this munitions plant. Only problem, it's not the French resistance waiting for him at the drop zone. Somehow, it's the Germans. They ambush him and capture him almost immediately.
No, not
they
this
throw him in the
again.
truck, take him to some house, they start interrogating him. After a little while, he hears a bunch of trucks pull up outside, and he's like, oh great, the Nazis are here to take me to the real prison where I'm gonna get tortured all over again. And then the whole house just starts getting lit up with machine gun fire. He hits the deck, dudes come in with guns, kill all the Germans. It was the French resistance that was supposed to meet him there originally. They went out there, got the guns, came back for him, and then killed all the Nazis. At which point he's like, great, perfect, wonderful. Okay, now back to this munitions plant. He links up with the resistance. They start talking it. They case the place. This munitions plant is absolutely massive. Every single worker that goes in there has their papers checked going in and coming out every single day. This is not going to be easy. He has to figure out how to get fake papers for this plant. He has to figure out how he's going to smuggle in all the explosives, and he's going to have to figure out how he's going to get out once the explosives go off. So they go out, they end up finding a bunch of the maintenance crew for this factory and convince them to help him. They use those guys as actual IDs to
Oh?
make fake IDs for Robert and like 4 other resistance fighters. Then, using Robert's knowledge of how to sabotage stuff and the maintenance guy's knowledge of how the factory actually works and what's important, they come together and figure out which targets are going to hit, mainly water mains and electrical rooms. Then they got to figure out how they're going to get the explosives inside the factory. So they hollow out their shoes and they're going to smuggle explosives in their shoes. So they load their shoes.
Oh, I would be terrified if I was about accidentally stepping it off or you were putting a freaking explosive in your shoe. That just... ugh. Factor says is the one who dragged you back to history as a person who hated history subject. Well, I was always a bit of a history nut, even in school. But I think also, Discord link doesn't work. Is it this link? I can always grab a new link because I know some of them are old. True. It's just the idea of it, JC. That would just have me a bit too. That would have me on edge. It's just the idea of having it in the shoe. Even though, like, yeah, it would need something to actually set it off. But it would still not be my. It would still have me pretty antsy. So yeah, it would probably be fine, but I wouldn't be able to do it because my valve link are broken. So I might have to update the link in Barrix later. But because the thing is, like, I would be suspicious because I would be too nervous. So my behavior would be entirely off for somebody that would be supposed to be there, if that makes sense. My behavior would be completely off mark. We'll just grab... Why is my shit being weird right now? Just generate a new link. Your grandfather was in Explorer? I had a couple brawls, a few. My grandparents were also. My grandfather was also. Pretty sure was also around then. Invite to server. I probably accidentally made a 7-day link. That's probably why. Copy. Let's try that. But it wasn't surprising though, because I mean, they saw a lot of fucked up shit. The thing is, like, there's a lot of fucked up shit. They saw a lot of shit. Probably had to do some shit that they probably weren't exactly thrilled about. So I can definitely see why someone would have lost it. Let me just slide on this monitor.
Up with explosives. Next day they show up to work. They all kind of stagger throughout this line, and like I said, this factory is huge. There's over 5,000 employees, right? And there's only like one checkpoint, so the dude that's checking papers is not like heavily scrutinizing. He's like,
I get that, JC.
Good, go, good, go, good, go. It's not real in-depth. Robert didn't realize that. He gets to walk right through. They get inside, they actually go to work. They work a full shift. At some point during the day, they go to the bathroom, hollow out their shoes, get all the explosives out of it, and then go stash it somewhere inside the place. And then tomorrow, they're going to come back and do it all over again. After that, they finish working their shift, quitting time, the horn blows, they all go home, they go back to the hideout, they have a big party because the plan is working. But Robert is like, okay, these guys aren't checking us that heavily, and I want to hurry this shit up and blow up this munition plant because every day we're making more ammo. You know, we need to stop that. That's the whole point of the mission. So he needs to figure out how to get more explosives in every single day, because at this rate, it's going to take forever. So he figures the only thing you're really allowed to bring into this factory is your lunch. So we need to figure out how to get more plastic explosives inside of our lunch boxes. It's literally the opposite of the Johnny Cash song where he steals a Cadillac one piece at a time and it didn't cost him a dime, except now Robert is smuggling in plastic explosives to blow up the entire factory. So what he does is he goes down to the grocery store, buys a baguette, a loaf of bread, cuts the end off, gets a spoon, hollows out the entire loaf of bread, and just ass packs this baguette full of C4. Go back to work the next day, guy checks the papers, looks in the lunchbox, oh shit, he's got a baguette, this is France, that's normal, go ahead and go right in. And then there's 5 other guys also bringing a fucking loaf of C4. After 7 days, they managed to smuggle in 40 pounds of C4.
Oh, sourdough.
We love hot bread. We love a good hot bread.
After that, we're ready to blow up this plant. So here's the plan. Everybody's gonna go to work as normal. We're gonna bring even more C4. And then at the end of the day, factory closes at 7 o'clock. At 6:30, Robert's gonna slip away. He's gonna go out to the fuel warehouse and he's gonna rig up the fuel warehouse to explode with a massive chunk of C4, and it's gonna be on a 1-hour time delay. Then Robert's gonna hide till 7 o'clock when everybody else, including the other 4 resistance guys, are all gonna leave, and Robert's gonna run around the factory. He's got...
Oh, thanks for the raid, Seth. How are you doing? How was your stream? Tell me all about it. Thanks for the follow, Ross. Thanks for the follow, DJ. How y'all doing? How was your stream? For those who do not know me, I am Scarlett. I do love variety content, do reacts on Mondays, and some uploads on YouTube throughout the week. How y'all doing? Cause I learned about oh hey Vinny. I learned about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare's Demolition Man. Robert is a I cannot pronounce that last name again because I'm laughing too much. So just doing some history. Funny how you find your way back here. Small world. Yeah, I'm terrible at pronouncing French. Oh, by the way, JC said hi, Vinny, from YouTube. Morning, Nabil. It's one of the perks of being... I did not know you were French. I learned something new today. Yeah. Like, I can... Like, if it was, like, Spanish... Or Spanish, English, maybe if it was like Japanese or Chinese, I might be able to pronounce it if I was looking at it. But French is out of my league. My sister took French. I saw her stuff. She tried teaching me. That shit just went over my head. Nah. He did not. He did not. Alright. Hey, let me just pull this back a few seconds from the raid alert. That should do it.
Chunk of C4, and it's going to be on a 1-hour time delay. Then Robert's going to hide till 7 o'clock when everybody else, including the other 4 resistance guys, are all going to leave, and Robert's going to run around the factory. He's got 30 minutes to place all the rest of his charges. He's going to blow up the water main, the main power lines, and all the railroads coming in and out of the factory. The 4 resistance guys that already left are going to grab their bikes and Robert's bike, and they're going to pedal around the backside of the factory and wait by the 18-foot high wall.
That's going to be destructive as hell.
Then after Robert places his charges, he's going to jump out of a window, run across the courtyard at the wall, yell over to him. They're going to throw the rope over. He's going to scale the wall, and they're going to pedal off on bikes, which is exactly what happens. They make it about 4 blocks away from the factory before there's a massive chain of explosions, and then they make it back to the safe house, have a humongous party, and get completely shit-faced.
As they should.
Radios over to British SOE, says mission successful. They radio back a single word: congratulations. That munitions factory was then out of commission for 15 days straight, and it's unclear how effective they were after they did start manufacturing more stuff at the location. But it was only out of commission for 2 weeks. I don't know why you're making such a big deal about it, like that's a huge deal. But okay, first.
I mean, 2 weeks not having munitions made is Well, there's actually a lot of munition that they don't have. I think that's pretty fucking useful. Especially if it was a major one.
First of all, when you're playing Who's Got More Bullets with America and your factory goes down for 2 weeks straight, it's a fucking problem, okay? Second of all, a British Lancaster bombing formation only managed to put this factory...
You know, it's funny you say that considering that the resistance guys snuck C4 or whatever in through baguettes. So it's kind of funny to see that name.
We had a commission for 7 days, and Robert La Rochefoucauld went in there with a loaf of bread and did twice as much damage, okay? That's gangster as fuck. Sorry, anyways, from here, Robert's just pretty much waiting to get extracted. He needs to get the orders of when and where to meet for his extraction, so he's hanging out at the safe house for a couple of days. The orders finally come down. Hey, tomorrow night, we need you to meet us in this next town over at this location. So he spends the next day memorizing the exact route he's gonna take, and he's gonna ride his bike there at night in pitch darkness. So he wants to memorize the route so he knows every little curve of the road so he can ride there in the dark. And that's exactly what he does. Starts riding his bike. It's pitch blackout. Can't really see shit. He hears a car coming up behind him, jumps in the ditch, waits for the car to pass by, comes back out, makes it a couple more miles. Another car coming, jumps in the ditch, hides, waits for the car to pass by, comes back out, riding his bike in the dark, can't see anything, and then all of a sudden, he just runs into something. And it's a German checkpoint. He literally rode right into it because, well, that wasn't on the map. And now the Germans have him at gunpoint.
Here we go again.
He's supposed to be out at this hour, so they start asking him questions. They're like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, and here is where being in the military from the age of 19 really shoots him in the foot. Okay, you gotta realize, Robert is like 21 years old right now, but he's had a really weird life between the ages of 16 and 21. Everything after the age of 16 has been like building up to do 007 type shit. So in a lot of ways, socially speaking, he's still a 16-year-old. So when he's asked, what are you doing out past curfew? The 16-year-old social skills kick in and he's like, I was out in the woods making love to my girlfriend. Okay, now for a 16-year-old boy making out with his girlfriend in the woods, great excuse. Highly probable, definitely what's going on here. For a 21-year-old man that just got done working at a factory, not a great excuse. German guard says, and I quote, why don't you fuck your girlfriend at home? To which Robert is like, From here, they take him to Fort Duas prison, throw him in a cell. He's informed that he's going to start getting interrogated in 2 days when the head of secret police gets back in, and that guy's name is Friedrich Wilhelm Doza. Robert knows the name because Doza is like one of the best secret police the German has, and he has been responsible for arresting hundreds of French resistance guys. He's always infiltrating the French resistance and breaking them up and arresting everybody. So at this point, Robert's kind of freaking out, like, okay, I might have met my match with this guy. I can't let him know what my real name is. If I give him my real name, he's going to track down my family. He's going to hurt them next. And for the next 2 days, he considers taking his own cyanide pill just so he doesn't accidentally give up his name to protect his family. And really, over the course of this time period, he just comes to accept that, like, he's gonna die soon, but he can still determine how he dies. So he figures, you know what? I might as well try to escape. If I end up getting killed or if I end up getting recaptured, I'll take the cyanide pill, or they'll kill me when I'm trying to escape. I'm dead either way. I might as well give it a shot. And then he has an idea. He remembers back to the last time he was held in a prison.
Oh boy.
And that one guy had an epileptic seizure and the guards ran in and started helping him. Now, he's in a cell by himself. So he hangs around, he waits till the guard is walking by, and then he has an epileptic seizure. The guard unlocks the door, runs in to help, and then Robert grabs him, throws him on the ground, snaps his neck, and kills him. And here Robert's just kind of like, I just killed a guy.
You should find yourself a safe house or a relative close by. Lay low for a while, because you're probably wanted for murder.
And then he kind of like snaps out of it like, okay, gotta move fast, looks for the keys to get off of like the block that he's on. He has keys to his cell, but he doesn't have keys to get out of the section of the prison that he's in, and neither does the guard. So he's like, shit, what do I do now? So he decides that guard's roughly the same size as me, so he strips the guard down and puts on the Nazi uniform. So now, not only is he dressed like a Nazi, but he also has a pistol. So things are looking better. He's like, okay, how do I get keys to get off this cell block? And there's, you know, just a bunch of cells, and there's like the room that the guards are always going into. So he's like, maybe the keys are in there. So he walks in his Nazi uniform over to the guards' lounge, or whatever you want to call it, opens the door. There's 2 guards in there sleeping. So he kind of starts shuffling around, looking for keys to get off this cell block. The guards wake up. shoots both the guards, finds the keys, gets off the cell block, walks out the front door of the prison, and goes back to the safe house, does not get caught. From here, he doesn't leave the safe house for like 3 days straight. The Nazis know what he looks like. They have like a hand drawing of his face. They've got wanted posters all over town. They are looking for this guy. There's no way he's going to be able to get out of this safe house and get to like the next safe house to the next safe house to get to where he can get extracted, because the Nazis are looking at every single checkpoint. They are gonna catch him. After about 3 to 4 days of hanging out at the safe house waiting for everything to cool down, it's not cooling down. Nobody can come up with a plan on how to smuggle his ass out of here. And then the owner of the safe house is like, I mean, I do have one idea. My sister's a nun and she's a little bit husky. So, I mean, that is an option.
Make me a woman.
Okay, hard cut. Robert, with a freshly shaven face, is now walking down the streets of France in a nun outfit, literally waving at Nazis as he walks by, and nobody suspects a thing.
I did not have disguise as a nun anywhere on anything I expected to hear today. I respect it, but holy shit. This video has been a fucking trip. Holy shit. Fucking going disguised as a nun. Not even on the bingo card. Because even any bingo card I have made for anything like this, I would have never put not dressed as a nun or disguised as a nun. I need to remake the bingo card ever since I did this. The French resistance is crazy. Well, and if the plan seems insane to you, presumably your enemy has the same thoughts. I mean, yeah, that does make a lot of sense too. Wait, Seth, do you offhand know of any of the other crazy things that they did by chance? It's okay if you don't. I'm just curious. He has a more crazy video as a Robertosa cameo. I'd like to hear a couple of them because the nun has me dying a little bit here. Like, we had the nun, the explosives and the baguette. Like, it's been creative. I'll give him that. I will say this, but I have some more creative solutions I've seen from the videos. We do love Sergeant Seawash in this house. We stand Sergeant Seawash.
Robert makes it all the way to the next safe house, goes up, knocks on the door. A woman answers the door. He knows he's looking for a guy. I don't know his name. Mike, Rob, whatever. So, in a female voice,
this is also Truman, huh?
Put up the impression that he's a nun, not knowing if this woman's to be trusted or not. He asks if, oh, is Mike here? And she's like, yeah, I'll go get him. Mike comes to the door, and Mike is like, sees this nun in front of him, and he's like immediately like upset and distraught, and he's like, oh no. Sister, are you going to tell me that he passed away or he was captured? Thinking, because he's been waiting for Robert LaRochefoucauld.
We also stand Sergeant Reckless.
He was supposed to be here 4 days ago, so he's thinking in his head, this nun is coming to inform him that his friend that he's been waiting for has passed away or whatever. At which point, Robert, using his man voice, is like, bro, I'm right here.
Can I help you, man? Oh, sorry I'm late. After all those scotches, I had to piss like a racehorse.
He goes inside the safe house, tells him the story. The woman that answered the door is actually this guy's wife, tells her the story. They all have a good laugh. From here on out, he's hanging out at this safe house.
Oh, shit. I didn't think about that.
So he's hanging out at the safe house for a couple days, and then a couple more days, and then a couple more days, and the orders for him to get extracted are just not coming through. There's no plans, there's no communication, just Nothing. And eventually, the owner of the safe house is like, okay, we got to get you somewhere that isn't here, because if the Germans come, you're going to get all of us killed. So he ends up organizing for him to go out into the boonies, into this lumberjack camp out in the woods, and he's just going to work there as a lumberjack until the orders come through. So that's what he does. He goes out to this lumberjack camp, and he's being a lumberjack, cutting down trees for weeks, and then weeks turn into a month, and then a month turns into another month, and he's finally like, what the fuck is going on? There's a war going on. I'm supposed to be, you know, doing stuff. I'm out here cutting trees. And he's like, fuck it. I'm just going to go back, rejoin the resistance, and go rogue. So that's what he does. One day he just walks out of the lumberjack camp, goes back into town, links back up with the French resistance group that helped him sabotage the ammunition factory, and just goes absolutely ham. Now, we don't have great documentation on what exactly he was doing, but it's pretty safe to assume he was going out, training more resistance guys, and then leading missions to sabotage stuff that he thought would piss off the Nazis. And like I said, while we don't know exactly what he specifically was up to, we do know that in his general area around this general time period, there was over 100 Nazi rail lines that got sabotaged. We do have one specific story that he took the time to write about, though, during this time period. He was working with the French resistance, and they were setting up an ambush for some German soldiers, and during this ambush, there was some type of building that they were in, either like an abandoned factory or a factory, whatever it was. He says he walks into a room, he opens the door, and as he opens the door into this room, it's just a room with a desk in the middle, and straight across from his door was another door, and at the same moment that he walked through his door, a Nazi soldier walked through the other door straight across from him. He immediately draws his pistol, starts firing at the German. The German draws his pistol, starts firing at him. They both mag dump each other, and both of them miss with every fucking shot. At this point, Robert and the Nazi are just looking at each other with empty pistols like,
I'm not sure what to do with my hands. If you could just move down to the side. Yeah, great.
Like, what is the protocol here? Do I hurry up and try to reload faster than him and then shoot him and hopefully I hit him this time even though I didn't with the last 7 bullets? Or do we just have a fist fight to the death? What's the plan? So Robert and this Nazi are both just kind of looking at each other, probably for like a split second, but I bet it felt like forever. And they're both just like... And they both, at the same time, turn around and go out the door they came in and shut the door behind him, never go back. Robert never saw the guy again. So he goes rogue for a couple of months, has a bunch of missions, presumably, does a bunch of stuff, trains a bunch of people, whatever, and then the entire landscape of the French resistance changes. Now, when you talk about the French resistance, a lot of people just assume that it's all the same thing. Like there's just one organization, one big entity that is the French resistance, or the resistance, right? That's really not how it worked at all. There's a bunch of different factions of French resistance, and they were all doing different things, and some of them did not like each other and would work against each other. It was kind of a
that seems
crapshoot. So you
counterproductive.
had factions of resistance that were loyal to what France used to be. They're essentially loyal to General de Gaulle. They're loyal to Free France. They want things to go back to how they were before the Germans showed up. You also have factions that are communist that want France to get taken over by communists and become a communist nation. And then you have other factions that are like comprised of almost exclusively Jewish people or whatever. So you have all these different factions with different motives, and they're not always working together. But
that sounds very clusterfuck to get anything productive done with trying to get the Germans out, to just be counter-conspiring intentionally or unintentionally. I would think they would have been able to maybe at least find that one common ground to, you know, get these guys out of here. But I don't know. I'm not the most familiar with French history, so there's many different branches. Yeah. I don't understand why if you're trying to free France, right? I don't see why you would want to intentionally or get in the way of another branch trying to also accomplish the same goal. So is this just like a case where just they didn't communicate with each other at all, or just not very well? I know communication had to have been possible. Oh, thanks for the follow, Ventura. Hope you're doing well today. Knowing about the wartime France, but at the World War I, they were ruthless in a good way. I mean, to be fair, a lot of places show their teeth during the World Wars. And I mean, I know that there's a lot of shit that fucking who was it? Fucking Canada did that, got fucking banned or outlawed and shit. So a lot of them did a lot of shit. France during World War I was crazy. I'm be honest, I'm more familiar with World War II history than World War I. Oh. I still want to get that collection of the Geneva Convention. A simple ban is wild. I mean, I know it's a lot more complicated than that. Just like, I mean, I think I was talking with Arbel earlier, talking about how the a lot of like the Declaration of Geneva for what the medical and whatnot. I mean, it's not a war crime the first time. More like the Geneva suggestions. Oh, Lord. It is a Geneva checklist in Star Wars. Well, I wouldn't know on that one because I don't really, I haven't watched Star Wars, so. Anakin violates almost every article. Charming. Oh my lord.
By this point in time, D-Day has happened. Allied forces are here, they're liberating France, and because of this, General de Gaulle comes back, and he basically puts an end to all the resistance that is loyal to him. They're like, okay, we don't need the French resistance anymore. If you want to fight for France, you can quit being part of the resistance, and you can just come join the Free French Army, and you can be directly underneath me. And because obviously La Rochefoucauld is loyal to General de Gaulle, that's exactly what he does. So La Rochefoucauld joins the French army, and the French army is like, okay, we've got this guy that's basically fucking James Bond. He's been doing 007 shit for years. We should probably just give him some orders and cut him loose, or put him in charge of some people and get him into the action, right? Obvious thing to do. So naturally, that's what they don't do because the military is going to military, and they decide that they're going to send him to officer school in the middle of World War II. So they pull him out of the field, send him to officer training. So Robert hates it, giant waste of his time. He's 21 years old. He's showing up to these officer training classes, getting taught by people that know less about what's going on than he does. They're less capable than he is, but he's, you know, learning from them. So he's basically just shows up, jumps through all the hoops, graduates at the top of his class, and then he goes and joins the French army. And he gets assigned to a commando unit because, well, at least that makes sense.
They tell how Robert Wheelix escaped the firing
now,
squad.
Point,
what?
Germany is pretty much pulled out of France. The Allies are there. They're retaking France. But there's a couple of locations where they left a bunch of soldiers behind and they were going to try to hold them, mainly submarine bases on the Atlantic coast. The one that we're going to be talking about today is right outside of Bordeaux. These German submarine bases were basically impenetrable. They had bunkers, pillboxes, casemates, hundreds of thousands of mines around them, and then the concrete was so thick they were basically immune to Allied bombing. And Germany wanted to keep them running as long as possible because they wanted the U-boats out in the Atlantic harassed.
Fucking ads, god damn it. I will wait for those. And that just gives me a stretch break. Calling him James Bond is not quite right, more like French Austin Powers. I'm about to disappoint every single one of y'all. I have not seen a single James Bond movie. Yeah, I kind of can't avoid the train because there's literally one track on past, and then if I go the other way, there's another train track. So I can't get away from the trains. Yes, not a single one. I have not seen a single James Bond movie. That is correct. Yes. Y'all cannot be surprised by this. Y'all should not. But this, I said you would be disappointed. No. The train, honestly, it's not too bad usually, but then sometimes, they stop down near the, near the Cascade plant. That's not far from here. And it just, sometimes it just decides to sit there for who knows how long. And it makes you wonder if it's actually going to move again. I mean, it eventually moves, but it's so annoying. Although I will say the graffiti on the train, though, is very nice. Are we still in ads, or are we free from ads? You're free from the ads, you're gonna do a crime. Whatever that crime is, I know nothing about it.
Allied shipping, which is going to hamper the entire war effort and make it harder for the Allies to push into Germany. So Robert and the commando unit that he's in have been tasked with taking out this massive sub-base right outside of Bordeaux. And this is called Operation Venerable, and it happens on April 14th, 1945. Now, like I said, these submarine bases are basically impervious to Allied bombings, or at least conventional Allied bombing. So the Allied forces decided they were going to use a different type of bomb. Napalm. You know, jungle jelly, sweet, sticky fire. If we can't blow you up, we're just going to slow roast you alive, was basically the plan. So they go in, all the commando troops get ready, they get staged, they napalm bomb the holy hell out of this place, and then they're getting ready to launch their attack. They send scouts forward, scouts come back, and the section that the commando unit that Robert is supposed to attack didn't really get hit by napalm. Okay, the problem, this section also has a massive casemate with a humongous gun, you know, like the big tank turret inside the concrete right there, and it's completely unscathed. And if that casemate stays intact and they launch this attack, that casemate is going to take out all the tanks, and then once the tanks are out of play, they're not going to be able to provide cover for all the ground troops, and the ground troops are going to get absolutely mopped by the machine gun bunkers, and it's just going to be one giant meat grinder. So the captain of this commando unit calls his officers in, Lieutenant La Rochefoucauld included, trying to come up with a plan. To which Robert, hearing the problem, is like, oh, you have a very particular piece of equipment that you need eliminated that's very hard to get to, and you need it done quick, easy, and in a hurry?
What I do have are a very particular set of skills.
Now the captain is hesitant. He knows about La Rochefoucauld's background, but he's still like, how is one dude gonna go in there and take out this massive casemate by itself? I don't know if it's worth it. To which La Rochefoucauld is basically like, look, I mean, we're gonna get slaughtered tomorrow anyways. If I take me and like 3 other dudes with me and we end up dying on this mission and we fail, is us being at the battlefield tomorrow gonna make the difference on us getting slaughtered now or then? Like, you might as well let me throw the Hail Mary. And the captain is like, you know what? You're right. Fuck it. What do you need? To which Robert is like, okay, here's what I need. I need a rubber boat, I need some volunteers, and I need a loaf of bread. I mean, a bunch of plastic explosives. That night, they take the rubber boat, they paddle around the backside of this submarine base with nothing but a single flashlight to light their way. It takes them about 2 hours to get there. They crawl up the beach. They make it to this massive wall around this submarine base. At this point, it's starting to rain, which is actually a good thing because that's going to drown out any little bit of noise that they make. So they get up to this wall. Here's the plan. Robert's going to scale the wall, does that. Now, there's the wall to the submarine base, then there's like a courtyard, and then there's the big bunker with the casemate in it. And in between the wall and this casemate
Hey,
bunker
Oakman and Minty,
is
how you doing?
Cobra netting, that camouflage netting that's kind of like spanned between the two, so aerial reconnaissance can't see what's going on inside that courtyard. Now, Robert, sitting up on this wall, can see that there's a single German guard patrolling this courtyard, just going around in circles all night long. So he takes out his knife, cuts a man-sized hole in this Cobra netting right where he's at, and he just waits till the guard is reasonably close to that spot, jumps through the hole, lands on top of the guard, slits his throat, then leans him up against the wall and tries to make it look like he's sleeping.
Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired.
From here, his guys drop the plastic explosives down to him. He sneaks over to the casemate, places them where he thinks they need to be to cause the maximum amount of damage, rigs it up to explode in 7 minutes, runs back to the wall, they drop a rope down to him, he climbs up, they get back in the boat, they dip. While they're making their way back in their little rubber boat, massive explosion goes off. Hopefully he did enough damage to take the casemate out for the massive assault tomorrow. Tomorrow rolls around, they launch this massive assault. The casemate never fires a single round. Whatever happened, he apparently was able to disable it enough that they weren't able to use it. Unfortunately, during the assault, which he also partook in, somebody stepped on a landmine, that landmine exploded, and a piece of shrapnel shredded through his leg. He ends up getting hospitalized, has to go through surgery, get a prosthetic kneecap, and by the time he's recovered, the war is over. For his service, he was awarded the French Croix.
Hold on. They called them a loaf of bread or spare dough? What? That is funny and amazing. I do not play FPS games. I am not your streamer for that.
Guerre, as well as the Legion of Honor, those are equivalent to like the Bronze Star with V device and the Medal of Honor. And then from the British, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Medal and the Distinguished Conduct Medal, which is equivalent to like the American Silver Star and the Distinguished Service Cross. The Distinguished Service Cross is second only to the Medal of Honor. So a bunch of high-ranking awards. And from here, he basically gets to live happily ever after, gets married, has 4 kids,
right, that's the
becomes the mayor of
exception.
this town for 30 years, and he even picks back up his family's noble title and becomes Count Robert de la Rochefoucauld.
They didn't come out and say he's a pimp, and I know a pimp.
Man, no, we played Space Marine the other week. I don't want to hear it.
Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go by
no.
thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. I can't help but wonder who the Nazi was that he ran into.
Okay, it was
and had the
last
shootout
week.
with, where they both missed with all their bullets and then decided to turn around and walk the other way. Like, it just feels like that's two main characters running into each other when they weren't supposed to.
Actually, I don't care for the Amazing Digital Circus. There's more about him? Look, I've seen it, episodes of it. I don't care for it. Seven whole days. Well, Minnow, just because I do not play games as much on stream does not mean I do not play video games. Okay, Picket. Appreciate you poking on by. Admittedly, I would be among stupid people who do not know how to shoot a gun. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Like after the war, he was stanked by a Russian officer. Kissed him on the mouth. Well, that's something. But yeah, Vinny, I have never played Fortnite in any capacity aside from Lego Fortnite. I have not touched it. Like, there's a guy, he doesn't usually come by because his PC had, like, only recently got working again. But he used to mod, and he tried to get me to play Fortnite and Overwatch and other stuff. Well, he wanted me to do the Fortnite festival, I think it was. I'm not sure. I think it was a festival. Whatever the little music thing was that Fortnite had. Well, man, all things go well. And please, for the love of God, do not let Octavius be here for this. I will probably be picking up Helldivers this week. Probably. Yep. I'm screwed. Yeah. You two are just gonna blow me the fuck up. I already know it. One of you intentionally. Yeah. I got roped into it. Okay, Lorcana, enjoy your day at work. Yeah. I think you might do it unintentionally, but you and I both know Octavius, he has it for me on sight. I wish I knew what the fuck I did to him. But yeah, I never got Helldivers when it was like really popular because of because this PC was a little too much. Helldivers 2 is one of your main games. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I got a community member who's already told me how much he's going to blow me up when we play it, so I know I'm already in for it when I get in and do the first time with community. Besides, man, to be fair, a lot of the stuff I play like off stream would not be interesting. Cause I'm pretty sure you do not want to see me go ham playing fucking pinball of all things. Even if I am good at playing pinball. You just got recently yourself. Nice, nice. Let's see, I don't even know. It's 7:16. I have work in the morning. Why do I gotta work in the morning? This is fucking bullshit. I fucking hate pinball tables, in honesty. I hate them. I hate those fucking things. It's like, I hate pinball machines. Honestly, because they're really fucking delicate. They are super fucking delicate. It's like, I don't like pinball machines. I do not like any of the guns for any type of any shooting game, because oh my god, those things are needlessly fucking expensive and so easy to fucking break. Yeah, like, not a good time. Not a good time. I do not like them at all. Alright. Let's see. Yeah, I should probably... Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna end here, because I have work in the morning. So, tomorrow, stream will probably start closer to 5, since I do have work in the morning, so... And while I would love to go live the moment I go home, I don't think you'd want to deal with me a little wound up. Which will be with more Halo, and I will be trying a demo out tomorrow for a game. I cannot remember the name of it right now. It starts with an L. It's a little solo single player game though. Should be fun. But if y'all could stay for the raid, that would mean so much. If you missed any of the reacts, they are up on YouTube. The whole entire VOD will be up on YouTube. And there will be a habitual line crosser marathon on Wednesday. Let's see who's live that can raid. Marbles. Yeah, you know what? We are going to read Spider Bro. Anyways, all you guys, take care of yourselves. Stay hydrated. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Or, you know, fucking do it. I don't give a shit. Y'all take care of yourselves.